Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Esports U. Here, we will be covering the second week of the ECC in their League of Legends series. I, of course, am your play-by-play caster for the night, Zephyr, joined alongside me, making his debut for the first time, actually, alongside me, is Rare Adam.
What's good? I'm excited. I'm excited to see what these teams have. It's going to be fun.
What's good? That's about as far as we can get out of that one. I'm doing absolutely great. That's what's good about me here. And like you said, a good matchup tonight. St. Thomas University versus Daemen here, duking it out in a single best of three action here.
Yeah, and looking at these teams just from looking at their OP.GGs, St. Thomas, they've got some pretty interesting players. We were talking about Diomar a little bit before. He may not be playing game one, but oof.
All right. I can feel the oppressive takes already starting to leak out of my boy Rare Adam here. Yes, there's a bit of a slight rank disparity, but that doesn't mean that we can't get some competitive games out of these two teams here. So I'm not going to count Daemen out of that one just yet, as possibly those of you who are familiar with not just the collegiate League of Legends scenes, but a lot of the scene as a whole might recognize a few of the names that do exist here on the St. Thomas roster. I myself, notably knowing their mid lane, Diomar, making a presence here for them. So I get where you might be coming from with that one, past just the ranks.
Yeah, I mean, he's played for, I think it was Glaive Esports Prime. He's been around the scene. I mean, even if you don't know anything about collegiate and you only pay attention to amateur, you'd still recognize the name. So, I mean, definitely someone we're going to watch, but not even playing in game one. Apparently, getting subbed for someone else to start us out. So, is that the key for Daemen to pick up a game? They're still their top laner, Dolphin, who is also Grandmaster 250 LP. So it's a brooding presence, but then again, there's that Reddit thread where it's like, how many different steps are you to beating the rank one player? And, if you can beat Dolphin today, hey, you might move up on that rank.
Hey, you know what? Maybe you potentially are ranking up on your own there. To confirm, though, for Diamaro being subbed in, Will is the ultimate trial. So that will be the individual taking place of him going into this game. And like Rayram said, potentially that might just be the who knows, the crack in the almost impenetrable gate that might be forming ahead here. For now, though, we are going to take a look at that game one draft, get this one underway, and see which of these teams pick out here.
Yeah, and I think right off the bat, there's some really strong picks that pop off the board. Specifically, Zeri. We were talking about it a little bit before our show, saying, yeah, that champion's new and she's absolutely busted. But also down in the bot lane, you've got champions like Caitlyn, Jinx, always staying strong. As well, junglers, there's like the holy trinity that you see in LCS right now in all the pro leagues. Jarvan, Xin Zhao, Lee Sin. We might just see them stick to those guns and pick those up early. I wouldn't mind seeing a couple of spicy picks come out here, but always interesting to see what these teams pick up, because at the end of the day, comfort is always going to triumph over all. It's something that I think I've said 1,000 times, and I'll say it 1,000 times more. If you like the champion, play the champion. Who cares if it's good or bad? Because whatever you like is the best pick for you.
All right. I will go out on a limb and I'll agree to an extent regarding that one. I think once you get to a certain level of play, what is kind of a favorable pick can be less capitalized upon, right? If you're, low rank and you just need something that works, then guess what? Your favorite pick might be kind of that deciding factor, given that you just have, that level of mechanical skill and history. Whereas, going up against someone like St. Thomas, a little bit of the David versus Goliath matchup that we have here, who knows if that'll be enough to do the job. Either way, Daemen first on the board. Like you were saying earlier, you've got that massive success with Jinx recently here in the bot lane, so starting to set that scaler up to potentially run against it. And no surprise, the slippery eel himself, Mr. Ezreal, in response.
Yeah, and Ezreal really good at sort of keeping Jinx from getting ahead in lane specifically. Jinx doesn't have a necessarily oppressive laning phase in the sense that she will just all in you level 2, level 3 like a Tristana will and kill you. But if she gets a kill, she can sort of snowball the game from there. Ezreal makes that a lot harder because he's going to be able to get away from any sort of trouble. Of note here, look at the bans from Daemen here. There's 3 top lane bans here. They're just all targeting Dolphin here, taking him off that comfort. But Galio getting picked up could go alongside that Ezreal support. Could also just be something in the mid lane, just to keep everything nice and safe.
Right, I like that St. Thomas gives himself that flexibility, potentially because Galio, in both cases, has a lot of great rotational potential when we talk about his global presence here. In response, Daemen very quickly will secure that bot lane and give them the potential engage with the Nautilus that they need to maybe kind of usurp the position or the slipperiness of that Ezreal that I did just bring up a second ago. So who knows? Maybe one good line, hook and sinker here from Nautilus could seal the deal and start to balloon that lead on Jinx. Granted, I really don't think it'll be that easy. They set themselves up, of course, for the mid lane. Diana, that heavy mage assassin that we have seen here recently, and I like the quick response with the Akali, so more than likely this does confirm that we will be seeing the Galio slip into that support role.
Yes, and there is still a little bit of flexibility. Wouldn't be surprised to see the Diana go into the jungle even. She's been incredibly strong there thus far. The combo Diana-Yasuo, probably the best mid-jungle duo that you can put together in solo queue. Even in pro play, we've seen it a bunch of times as well. But the Akali could also move up to that top side of the map. We know Dolphin's a very skilled player, and why not put him on something that can hard carry some games? Akali would definitely accomplish that, but we'll see where it all lines up. With the Mordekaiser band, though, might be telling us something there.
I mean, I know that Dolphin has quite the extensive pool here, and they're going to be taking away some heavy AP mage burst and response here, as well as some heavy wombos that are available still towards the Daemon roster, especially since they, of course, notably have not drafted out their jungle at this current point, if we don't see that Diana go that way, which they are making that position for themselves. In turn, they continue to take away jungle from St. Thomas, which in a more confirmed sense has not been picked out here. Granted, the major trio is still left up for both of these teams here, so more than likely we will see 1 or 2 of those 3 be picked out. But just as I say that, the Volley Bear is taken here. Still, I would say, still potentially flexible. You could still see that volley be thrown top lane.
Yeah, and I think that now that we're seeing this Graves hover, there's just so much flexibility from both of these sides. They've got a whole bunch of players that can move to different places on this map. There's Volibear flexible, Graves flexible in solo lanes as well now. The Diana jungle mid can be moved around. I mean, I don't want to say Nautilus can move top lane, but
no, don't even go
there.
There
used to be a time where it happened,
Now we're just playing with our food out here with this draft. A little too far.
But the Graves getting locked in here gives you a little bit more AD threat. It gives you a little bit more burst as well. But looks like it's going to be Veigar locked in. That is kind of blind, but also if they're putting the Galio mid lane, that'd be a great matchup.
Yeah, if the Galio goes through, then you have a...
Freeze frame from Zephyr. He looks as confused as I could look confused, but the Lux gets locked in here, and that could be Lux in the mid lane, could be Galio in the mid lane. Still a lot of flexibility to be had, but you doing okay there, buddy? He's stuck in the freeze frame. But regardless, there are our drafts as it stands right now. I would ask him what he thinks about the draft as well, but I think that the Akali going up into the top lane makes a whole lot of sense for Dolphin, as Dolphin does have that agency to carry on a champion that has as much carry potential as this Akali. As well, if the Lux does go into the mid lane, has a little bit of a better matchup into the Veigar. Of note, though, Diana Veigar gives you a lot of zone control, especially when you're playing around some difficult melee characters like this Akali and this Volibear, as well as the Galio in a sense, but really going to be curious to see who's really the initiator at the end of the day. But I think we'll try and figure out what's going on with Zephyr, and we'll head to a break. But when we're back, we'll have Game 1 gameplay for you on the Rift.
I'm just kidding with you. I'm actually back here now. Once again, I am Zephyrcast. This time, a little less frozen, of course, by my say, Rare Adam going to be the color caster as we make our way into game one here between St. Thomas versus Daemen. And Adam, please, if you would, fill me in. I was in the void for a good odd 10 minutes there.
Yeah, I mean, we got the last pick of the Veigar and the Lux. We didn't really get to see where exactly they're lining up yet, so we could have Lux mid lane, we could have Lux support, we could have Lux jungle for all we know at this point. I mean, that would definitely cause another freeze in the Matrix, unfortunately. But it seems like we've got our team comps and the teams are getting ready to hop onto the Rift, so we should be good to go. I cannot tell if he's actually frozen. I'm going to assume he's actually frozen. But in that vein, we should be heading onto the Rift shortly. Zephyr is looking very proud of himself for either fooling us absolutely once again. But regardless, we should be hopping into game right now with game one of St. Thomas versus Daemen here. Daemen going to be on your blue side, St. Thomas on the red side. And as we expected here, Dolphin going to be pulling that Akali up to the top lane there. It will be Skullduster pulling out the Lux in the mid lane. So Galio support is the answer. Might be a little bit better than what we were expecting in terms of the matchup now in the mid lane against that Veigar, because you put that Galio there, makes it a little bit difficult with the event horizon, makes it difficult as well if there is the Akali trying to go into it. But vision on that blue buff, looks like Daemen are going to be aware of how St. Thomas are starting this one out, and don't really think they're going to try and steal that away. They just want to have that information. Also, just realizing since Zephyr's here, I get to say everything on this broadcast. So I want to thank both of these teams as well as our entire production crew for making this happen before we get underway here. But looks like everything is starting out all right. Looks like both junglers here starting on their blue buff. They want to try and path towards opposite sides of the map. So going to have some mirrored jungle starts here. What that means is that this Diana could either just opt to full clear, or she's going to try and take advantage of that Nautilus engage onto this Ezreal or onto this Galio in the early game to try and snowball this Jinx ahead. Conversely, the Volibear wants to try and gank this Graves, who has a decent amount of mobility, but is going to be incredibly difficult to get away from Dolphin up on that top side. As it stands right now, just some pretty typical laning stuff. Dolphin already starting to flex those muscles by zoning Clorox off of a lot of that CS, but going to come down on the bottom side. Level 2 has been achieved by the side of Daemen here, and it looks like they're being able to output just a little bit of damage over across onto the side of STU, but no harm, no foul in the long run. Yeah, in this early game, not a whole lot of action to be expected. I think that a lot of the time when that action happens in the early game, it's through set plays, through very early telegraphed ganks, at least from our side. But we'll have to see how that all plays out, as should be able to get a little bit of a boost here. I believe we're going to get a co-caster after all of this.
Yes, you do. The emergency fill has been called in, and yeah, we're here. All right, Adam, fill me in because I am just a mystery guest. You will find out who I am at the end of the cast. Don't worry, guys. But what are we looking at?
Looking at these drafts right here, junglers started on opposite sides of the map here. We've got Dolphin on this Akali, looking so aggressive up on the top side of the map. And on the bottom side, not too much action quite yet, but this Ezreal already starting to fall a little bit behind in farm. Could be worrisome, but Mask is on the bottom side of the map here. Not quite sure if there's any ganks to be had quite yet, though, considering these lane states.
Yeah, I mean, if we're looking at it right now that I'm seeing the states, seeing what we got going on. I mean, honestly, it doesn't seem like it's a big gankable lane, right? Ezreal with the Arcane Shift like we're seeing there should be able to get out. Yes, it costs them the exhaust, but at the end of the day, right, Galio, Ezreal, a fairly hard lane to gank. You know, you're not expecting them to be able to get a lot of kills. I do like the pressure, though, from Mass to kind of come down there, give the Jinx the CS lead, right? Really push her towards that power spike, get that either that Noon Quiver or right, that first big item that she can get, and then that way they can really start to snowball this lead, snowball this pressure, get things rolling, and go through it that way. But all right, so far so good, and we'll see what happens next.
I just got to keep our eye on this bottom side because right now this Jinx already building up towards a 2-wave lead on the bottom side of the map right now, which is a little bit odd because we were talking about in draft how this Ezreal, very slippery, can stay safe and farm it out, but thus far hasn't been able to stay safe and farm it out as we expected. Getting a little bit zoned out, starting to fall behind in CS, and honestly on the opposite side of the map, they haven't been able to find anything off of the back of this Akali's aggression and off of this Lux with the range advantage. But on the bottom side here, the Root's coming down onto Ultimate Trial, gonna be forced to try and Justice Punch out of there, but the long-range rocket gonna pick up first blood for Verx on the bottom side of the map. That's something we did not expect with this lane, especially with the Ezreal, but alas, Daemen strike first.
Yeah, and that's just unlucky if your ultimate trial there. He goes back for the Justice Punch, right? But that little step back, right? The 1-2 pop back that Galio does before he hits out and then gets his dash out. That's actually what causes him to seal his fate, right? If he just walks it out there, there's a much higher chance that he survives. It doesn't look like it would be enough to kill, but because he does the step back, the zap hits him, the auto attack goes through, and Verx now off to a great start. We talked about accelerating the bottom lane, right? Accelerating this Jinx. Well, guess what? Now she's going to come back to lane. She's going to start stacking on that, and she's got the ability to just dominate the bottom lane state. And when you're looking at the rest of the composition, right, let's take a look and take stock of what this means across the rest of the map. Dragon control is almost just a seeded thing now if you're on the side of St. Thomas University. Just knowing that what are you going to be able to do against a Jinx that's, you know, an item and a half, 2 items up on your Ezreal? When you think about it, Ez is going to be inherently slower to scale, right? He needs time to stack this tier, right? Effective combat stats as we're seeing it, what? He's got a long sword? That's it? That's not going to be enough to start stalling out on these dragons. And I think that's why we're seeing it right now. I believe Mask should be the one to start it up. It wouldn't surprise me there. And so that's now where the question really, I think, now falls onto Ravax. Up into this top side, the Volibear, what can you get done, right? Where can you put some impact onto this map? Because otherwise, for the next 3-4 minutes, it's going to be a rough go of it.
By the looks of how the bot lane is right now, I think this Jinx has it semi-frozen. She's got it on her side of the map there. Wasn't the best lane state, but mid lane here, Skullduster able to use those fancy feet, dodge away from the Baleful Strike, but at the end of the day, it's still a lot of damage coming out from that Veigar. Does have the item advantage as well, looking at it with the Lost Chapter, but Lux has those cookies, still has time to take her reset, and hopefully we'll be picking up her own Lost Chapter in a bit to even out the playing field in that mid lane.
Yeah, I mean, worth noting, right? Veigar did get the early back, right? Solo Vayne main gets the cheater recall because of the fact that he has that summoner TP, right? He's able to get back to lane early. And so, yeah, Skullduster, I mean, credit to him, right? For sitting in lane, keeping his CS numbers up. He's staying relevant to the lane state for now. But all right, here we go. Engage down onto the Nautilus. But that might be a problem.
Yes, it's going to be Galio taking a whole bunch of damage, tries to use that exhaust to get out of there, but DC Mask has enough dashes to be able to follow up on that. And this lane is kiltering so hard in favor of Daemen here. You can see 68 CS to 27. This Ezreal is not having fun playing League of Legends right now. The invade going to come down. It's Mazg and Yoruichi trying to fight Ravax here, and Ravax isn't looking on the brighter side of this one. Going to be taken down as well as DC Mask. Picks up their second kill of the game. Event Horizon gonna come down, and Solo Vayne main presses that outplay button, the good old R key. And against our expectations here, Daemen has come out with all guns blazing here against St. Thomas in this early game.
Yeah, I mean, and that's just what goes from an unfortunate set of circumstances, right? From bad to worse. I don't even know why Ravax wanted to contest that, knowing what the differential is down in the bottom side, right? You see how ahead this Jinx is. Your Galio is dead. Your Lux is pushed underneath the turret. She hasn't backed yet. I mean, best case scenario, it's a smite steal. Worst case scenario, it's exactly what we just see there. And they give over 2 kills. They give over the blue buff, right? All for for what, right? For really, there's not a lot that they get it done there. There's, you know, at some point, you need to just cut your losses, give it up, and say, all right, you know, we lost the fight. I'm just going to back up. Is the Ignite enough? Yes, it is. Oh, my. All right,
Yeah.
Dolphin, I see you.
Yeah, Dolphin's making some money moves up on the top side of the map. Of course, using the Prestige skin, all decked out in gold, and just able to outplay that Graves. Clorox went a little bit too far forward, and Dolphin showed us why he is the player that we were watching in the draft, saying Dolphin's going to be the one to carry here, has the Akali, has all the tools necessary. And, you know, while it may only be one kill, it does give a little bit of momentum back to the side of St. Thomas here.
Yeah, I mean, and we talk about how this gives you, you know, map presence, right? Or just it buys some space. I mean, Ravax now able to get onto the Rift Herald. It gives them a neutral objective that otherwise it might have been a little dangerous for them to do, right? They didn't really have vision of Mask, and they don't really know where on the map that Diana currently sits. So the last thing you want to get into is an unfavorable 2v2 up in the top side as well. It gives them the chance to go forward, but okay, I don't know about this.
Yeah, Idle going a little bit too deep. Great taunt coming through from Ultimate Trial. True Shot Barrage is going to be able to return some decent damage, but it's both summoners burned by the STU bot laner here. And for nothing, really. They didn't use the Super Mega Death Rocket. They didn't use the Depth Charge. They didn't even use their own flashes or any of their summoner spells. It was just a little bit too greedy for Idle to try and make that play happen.
Yeah, very, very greedy, and he pays the price for it, right? He loses out both summoners like we're talking about. It also forces him to not be able to really farm the wave that was kind of approaching and sitting underneath his turret. So it makes the CS differential even greater up against him. I mean, we see it now on the other side. Mythic item complete, the Gale Force in hand. This Jinx is going to be even harder for them to lock down. And ooh, okay, I thought Skullduster
always
was dead.
got to be careful with those event horizons there. I like how we get the zoom in. We're like, oh, is it gonna happen? Is it gonna happen? And then a solo Vayne main says, no, not this time. You get to live, but eventually it's just gonna get to a point where Veigar drops a full combo and Lux will not survive under any circumstances. Ravax is postured on this top side of the map. Clorox will spot it out with a ward, and looks like Ravax just gonna back off, potentially just throw down that Herald and a day. But on the bottom side of the map, Yoruchi able to find the hook onto this Galio once again, and that's the mythic item difference there. Gale Force gonna follow and pick that one up.
Meanwhile, though, on the top side, they're gonna dive it. They turned off the turret. There's the stun, collateral damage, and Ravax picks that one up too. I mean, overall, I don't hate what STU is doing, right? St. Thomas University, they are doing the things they need to. Although they do need to escort this Rift Herald in, otherwise this Veigar should be able to stop it. You know, yeah, you're losing out on the bot side. Oh no.
Oh, yeah, that's Dolphin just going down. The outplay button comes true, and Veigar just gonna use that to pick up that kill.
Yeah, meanwhile, on the bottom side, the dive happened. Unlucky for the Ezreal. But, I mean, I think that just speaks to the tale of how this game is going, right? It's a top side favorable matchup for the side of St. Thomas, but Daemen, they've got full control of the bottom side of the map. And honestly, I don't foresee much changing in the next few minutes at the very least. I mean, you're going to have to give over Dragons. You're going to have to give over some of these contentions if you are St. Thomas. And maybe by the time the 4th Drake comes through, right, the chance for them to take what is going to be a Hextech Soul, I mean, that's got to be their window that they're looking at. But if they keep slipping, if they keep falling behind, if they allow this gold lead to keep blooming and the Jinx to keep getting more and more fed, I don't even know if they're going to have enough time 12 minutes out from now to get themselves back into the game.
Yeah, and this is 2 Dragons already picked up by the side of Daemon. They've been able to play towards their win condition in this Jinx on the bottom side of the map. If we can get the observers to toggle over to the gold here, we can see how big that difference is, because we can look at numbers and say, oh yeah, it's a 60 CS lead. But when you put it into terms of 2,400 gold at 13 minutes into this game, that brings a whole new level. That's almost a full item that the Jinx is ahead. In the early game, when there's sometimes you don't even have a completed item at 13 minutes, but Jinx going to be working on her second item already here. She's going to be really scary to deal with.
I mean, if we do the quick maths here, that is actually the entirety of the gold difference in one character, right? In this Jinx, Verx is definitely, you know, leaps and bounds ahead of his lane opponent, sure. And that is also, I think, something to be worried about if you are on the side of STU, because, I mean, looking at it here, right, Ravax, he's a Volibear that's going for Trinity Force. Okay, wait, hold on. Let's see if Dolphin
Oh.
actually gets this. No, he doesn't.
Oh my
Goodbye.
goodness.
Oh, okay, Ignite.
Dolphin will trade 1-for-1 at the end of the day, but not the cleanest dive I've ever seen. But Yoruichi looking for that pull. It's going to be the Moonfall onto the Galio, and Verk's going to pick up another one. The fact that objective bounties are already coming through for this side of STU sort of tells the story as Skull Duster here going to be in a little bit of trouble. Will be in that cage, but Rayback's going to try and move forward. DC Mask able to land more damage down, and unfortunately for the Volibear, he is the one to get caught out. Thought he was catching out that Veigar, but unfortunately that is not the case.
Yeah, that was not how that was gonna play out. I mean, I'm very curious about the outplay flash that was used there to try and, I think, maybe cut off Veigar from using the blast cone. But at the end of the day, it ends up sealing his fate even more by putting him closer in range up against DC Mask. And now, I mean, looking at it here, just under 6,000 is the gold lead, and that's where we're sitting. And to finish up the point earlier that I was talking about, it's not a very tanky Volibear right now yet. So when you're looking at the rest of the team and the rest of the squad from St. Thomas, it almost has to be that they're going to need to assassinate and delete this Jinx off the map with the Akali, or else they're, it's all hope is lost. The doom and gloom scenario comes through where this Jinx has the protection, has the ability to put people between her and the rest of the team to just stay alive and to just get damage cross and to just really put things in their place. I'm very curious to see what STU does next, but could be a catch.
Dolphin able to dodge away from the hook, will get hit by that depth charge. Is in the shrouds though, so has a little bit of safety. Rayvax though taking a whole bunch of damage. Gonna be Dolphin getting out through the Veigar, but it does not matter. Veigar will take it down with that primordial burst, and under the tower as well, the Moonfall comes down, and Daemen are able to find 3 on the top side of the map, and once again, out of nowhere, they're just able to find these fights, able to find multiple kills, and looking for that second Rift Herald. They're about to break this game wide open.
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea there from St. Thomas, right? It's the goal of get some vision control down. Maybe they look to claim the Herald. Maybe they look to claim some of that objective bounty gold for themselves. But ultimately, what ends up happening, right, it's because they don't have solid vision control. They're looking to establish it, sure. But then because they're just walking across wards left and right, the vision from Daemen was there. They knew every move that was happening as that one played out. It causes them to be in a really rough scenario where it's just a pick, it's just a catch, and now it could snowball into 2 turrets potentially if they want to escort this Herald all the way through. It looks like they will not. They'll opt to just take away some of the jungle instead, but it's still more and more gold aside. It slips the gold difference. It slips the advantage even more in favor of Daemen. And this time, it's not just the side of the Jinx. Now you've got the Veigar in play. Now you've got the Diana in play. And, all right. It's just more and more things going on in this matchup.
Yeah, it's just completely kiltering towards the side of Daemen here. They've continuously found these fights that, in a lot of ways, aren't necessary. I think that they're trying to overplay their comp a little bit too much, and in that regard, this Akali isn't able to just scale, pick up her second item, be able to assassinate this Jinx in the backline. Instead, it's going to be DC Mask going into the backline, able to find the Moonfall onto 2. That's going to be a kill already picked up. A solo Vayne main able to take down another one. This Veigar is starting to be a little scary. So is this Jinx as she goes unstoppable. Double kill coming through for the Veigar, as the only one to stay alive for now is the Azrael. The Zap will not land. He will be able to get out with that Arcane Shift, but my goodness, once again, Daemen find 4 around the Dragon. That gold lead, it was 8,000, is now 9,000, and looks to continue climbing as they've got a tower prime for the taking here in this mid lane.
Yeah, it's not looking good for St. Thomas. Things are getting a little bleak, right? The ability to stall the clock out, sometimes that's all you're hoping for. Give yourself a little bit more time, right? If we break down that last team fight, it was the right idea from Dolphin, right? He knew what his job was. It's to assassinate one of these carries, whether that's the Veigar, whether that's the Jinx, whether that's Diana. But unfortunately for him, the other side of the fight his tanks get popped so quickly, right? Because they don't have enough stats yet under their belt, that nobody else is alive. And the kite back, the ability for the rest of the team on Daemon to protect each other, to sit on top of each other and make sure that the Akali can't get all of her burst off at once. It gives them the option. It gives them the ability to stay alive just long enough, right? We saw how low everyone was getting in the backline, but unfortunately, Dolphin falls just a touch short, not able to get the kills. And what ultimately ends up happening is it's just a team fight wipe across the board. Now it's sole point on the table, right? It's just 3-4 more minutes until it's a hex tech soul potentially for the side of Daemon. They're posturing like they might even want to do Baron off spawn and make them take the fight to them. I mean, they're this far ahead. I don't see why not. Here we go.
Oh. Yeah, Moonfall gonna come down. Dolphin using the stopwatch really efficiently, but it does not matter. Yuriuchi gonna be able to pick that one up as DC Mask is now unstoppable on this Diana. Of note, she did pick up that Medjai's. 25 stacks now for her. She has that fully stacked up. Side of STU, they're just trying to save face at this point. You can see DC Mask going so aggressively forward, missing that last sliver of damage onto the Ezreal. He will go down in the end to the Diana as Veigar as well going to pick up that kill onto the Volibear. Once again, another 4 for 0. This time Skull Duster, the one to live to tell the tale. But honestly, at this point, the game's looking pretty over for the side of STU. They've fallen pretty far behind here. It's 12,000 gold now at the 20-minute mark.
Yeah, well, let's see. Dolphin, give us your best impression of a comeback play here. Let's see it. There's one.
Dolphin
There's the
gonna
ult.
use one half. Will it be enough damage here? As no, does not look like it.
Oh,
Ultimate trial, standing there, and
So production has notified us that STU did lose internet there, and I believe we have hit this point where the internet has dropped.
And yeah, I think the main issue is they can't even pause the game because they've all disconnected, which is bringing a little bit of an interesting spin onto things, because at the end of the day, if you're not connected to the game, if you don't have internet, how are you supposed to pause the game, right? So that's probably the situation we're in right now. But unfortunately, yeah, seems like their internet dropped out. And I don't know if that would have made a difference in that kill, because it looked like he was going to be able to survive when all said and done.
The taunt can stop the TP.
Yeah,
it could have gotten them a kill. It could have gotten them a comeback, a little bit of it. But yeah, I agree. Definitely not fortunate. And already, with the difference that bad, the Baron taken, it's hard to say if anything really would make that much of a difference at this point. If you are STU, maybe this is the metaphorical and the literal reset switch, right? Just go back, start over, right? Take the L and see what you can do in game 2. Who knows? Maybe that'll help, but it's really hard to say.
Yeah, and as it stands right now, of course, my co-caster Zephyr, he was having internet issues. That's why K-Tad is here to, of course, fill in. Thank you very much for stepping in. But seems like everyone's having internet issues. It's like Oscar night in the LPL like 6 years ago where no one wanted to win, except it's just that way with Comcast. And I mean, I'm sitting up here in Canada. I'm like, hey, everything's good for the first time in years with our internet. But everyone else is unfortunately having those issues. So for the time being, we're going to wait until we get some sort of resolution in place. But we're going to take a break. And when we're back, hopefully we will have the resumption of Game 1 between STU and Daemen College. Don't go anywhere. You're watching Esports U.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Esports U. Hopefully, this time you'll get to hear my voice for a little bit longer, more than like 2.5 seconds, because trust me, all the takes I've had thus far are not hot enough. We've got to get into game before I actually start to make any sense whatsoever. I'm still Zephyr. This is still Rare Adam. We're still bringing you the game between St. Thomas and Daemen. Of course, we had a little bit of some issues coming out of the first game, but Daemen, of course, are going to be awarded that victory coming out of the first one.
Yeah, it was decided that after their internet dropped, they said, you know what? We weren't winning this game anyways. We will drop it. Yeah, we'll take the FF, and effectively what's going to happen, they're just going to go run it back with game 2 here. This time, we're going to have Diomar playing. So will that be the X factor that they need to maybe not fall behind so hard early on? We will find out, because game 1 was a tough game for St. Thomas. From at least what we could see there, yeah, it didn't look so hot.
So you're going to have to help me just a little bit. You know, I was dealing with some issues on my own end here. Describe to me a little bit of where that issue may have started for St. Thomas. Granted, who knows? It might have just been lag. But if we're taking this from a competitive standpoint,
Yes.
give it to me.
It very well could have just been lag or something.
No, don't say that.
We can't assume, but we'll
shake it up to
chalk
lag.
it up
There you
to,
go.
Yes, we'll put it up to lag to save face. But at the end of the day, it was that bot lane getting so far ahead early on that jinxed such a pivotal part of that bottom lane. The Ezreal wasn't able to make up any of that ground. The Galio didn't really accomplish a whole lot, wasn't as tanky as I think we expected. And after a while, the Diana was able to get a couple of kills and start to just run the map from there. The Veigar as well in the mid lane. So this time with our new draft, Diana, no, you're not getting that. That's taken off the table. With Diomar back in here, we'll see if that's going to be the X factor that they needed to right the ship here for St. Thomas.
Diomar is one class act himself, but I think you bring up some good points regarding mistakes that were found in that bot lane. So I think it's very important that we don't just say, oh, Diomar is here, we're going to game 3. Daemen still have the potential to close this one out strong and take us to a 2-0 victory, which would be huge because we set this one up fairly early on that it's our, David versus Goliath matchup. Anyway, draft underway here. St. Thomas there to be first on the pick. They go for the Jhin this time around.
And Jhin getting picked up is a little bit different from the last identity they had. Of course, you can see the Caitlyn, the Jinx, the Aphelios banned out. Those are your top 3 AD carries right there. Then you've got Jhin, and then you've got Senna. So by the hierarchy of AD carries, some people prefer the Vayne over the Jhin. Doesn't seem to be the case here. It is very standard to see that Jhin followed by the Senna quickly after. The Senna, though, interesting combination because generally you don't want to farm with the Senna. You want to do that fasting Senna. You might see the Tom Kench come through. You might see the Galio come through. You might see some more interesting things in that bottom side. So we'll see who's going to be taking control of that Senna, whether it will be Verx or if it will be Yoryuchi.
Okay. And the Lux is once again picked out here. This time it's going to be playing into the hands of St. Thomas. If you would, humor me. Let me know, where did that Lux end up when it was in Daemen's hands? Where did they finally put that baby?
Well, the Lux actually was in St. Thomas's hands. They did give it to Skullduster, but it was mid lane. So it was mid lane into the Veigar. Okay. Not a whole lot they could really do with that at the end of the day. So we'll see if it's going to be Skullduster taking that Lux once again, giving you that Jhin Lux combo, root into root. Pretty straightforward stuff. But the Lux could also go into that mid lane. We know Diomar's a very strong player. We know Lux is a very strong champion. Put 2 and 2 together. Is that the recipe for success? We'll find out.
Right. Nautilus to kind of wrap up what we'll be seeing in the bot line here for Daemen. It's going to take a little bit of time, especially because you don't really usually see the Senna actually able to capitalize on much of anything. Granted, Daemen could be looking for potential rotation, but if we compare this to what we saw out of them when they were playing with the Jinx last time around, you have the knot swing forward, and guess what? It's a secured kill pretty much no matter what, especially after you hit what is, your ultimate rotation at 6. This time, it's going to be a little bit of a climb. That Senna's going to need some stacks to her name before she actually can put anything on the board.
Yeah, and by the looks of it here, it seems like Verx is going to be farming on this Senna, and while farming Senna is still quite good because Senna's a very strong champion. Putting a 20% slow on her Q, that scales with your AD. Not the smartest buff by Riot. I'm going to say it as a Senna player. She's pretty broken right now. But you don't get as many stacks when you're farming. Thus, you build a more traditional AD carry build. Kraken Slayer, you see attack speed coming through. You really need to output that damage. You're going to still be at your max range, though. You're not going to have as much range. And now with the Morgana thrown into the mix, I have no idea what's going on anymore because...
I think just go mid.
It could, but...
It'd be a weird
It's
one.
Morgana mid lane. It's not as standard anymore. So Daemen, I think they've got something up their sleeve. I just don't know what it is. I don't think we know what it is quite yet, but ooh, that's an interesting pickup in the top lane for
Ooh.
Dolphin this time, or in the mid lane.
Yeah, potentially could come through another time. We all know how broken Trimmer can feel or be to play against, and always will be that major macro issue that a team will have to find some way to respond to. Granted, a little bit one-dimensional, but hey, sometimes it's just the stat stick that gets the job done here. They'll wrap this one up with, I believe, that will be that Victor pick. We're still just waiting for the final last confirmation. And yes, no surprise, a fantastic strength, especially when we see that in the mid lane. This will confirm that the Lux is going to be the support here for St. Thomas. And the Victor, like I said just a second ago, just a massive, heavy-duty mage scaler that has been dominating across the board here recently.
Yeah, and with this last hover, I have no idea what's going on anymore. This is where it gets confusing.
Nautilus top, potentially. Throw that Morgana into the bot lane.
Hot take, this could be Morgana jungle.
Morgana
jungle.
I'm not going to
still
go
appears
against
quite
Morgana jungle. I think that's definitely a potential.
I think that is what is likely to happen here. We're going to get Senna Nautilus in the bottom lane. Clorox had a decent game on the Graves last time out. And now the mid lane here going to pull the Kassadin into DMR's Victor. Kassadin has done well traditionally against the likes of these mages in the mid lane. So given that opportunity to scale alongside this Victor, will equally scale into that later stage. And it comes down to skill. But, we haven't seen DMR yet. And we know that DMR is that X factor. We talk so much about it because we have these expectations. Will it come to light? That's for us to find out, Zephyr.
Yeah, absolutely. I will wrap that one up by bringing the Kassadin into the discussion here for Daemen. I think if you have someone who is as aggressive as Diomar, who's looking to play into that hyperscaling late with the Victor, I think the Kassadin's a great pick into this, the anti-mage ability, and the fact that once he does kind of hit that 16, it's not a ticking time bomb. I don't think it's as impressive as it has once been, but it still is very, very strong, especially into a lot of this composition here. Granted, you have a little bit of a counter in some of these picks and their survivability, but in a majority take, I think it's a very good draft for running up against the Titan that is Diomar here. He's not just going to get a, get out of jail free card. He will be pressured all game long.
Yeah, there's going to be this consistent pressure from the jungle even. This Morgana jungle comes out of the jungle with her bind. All of a sudden you're like, I can't move. What's going on here? It gives enough time for a lot of follow-up. So that is, of course, if the Morgana goes jungle, we could just be in for an absolutely crazy draft, right? Who knows what happens, but I think 95% sure it's going to be Morgana jungle. I think we can put it to that, at least for now, but we've also got to keep an eye on Dolphin, because in that top lane, had some good looks on the Akali. It wasn't quite the performance that we were expecting. Was it lag? Was it nerves? Was it... Who knows? There's a whole bunch of factors that we don't know, but at the end of the day, this time around on this Tryndamere into the Graves, it's going to be difficult for this Graves to exist, because level 6, you go for those fountain or those tower dives even, you can't kill the Tryndamere for 5 seconds. That's what he does, and everyone starts to smash their keyboard in anger after that one.
Well, hopefully they don't get too angry here, because potentially there's a lot of mental still left to be played, as this may not be our last game. St. Thomas has all the world to roll this one back and potentially take us to a game 3. As for us here behind the desk, we are going to be going towards a short break as we make our way through spectator delay. So stick around and stay tuned for what could potentially be the last one of the night. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, here to the Esports U broadcast. We are, of course, bringing you the ECC LoL regular season week 2, and finally, we have made our way towards the Rift. If you've forgotten, I'm still your play-by-play caster, Zephyr, and alongside me is the lovely Rare Adam as my color.
Yeah, we get Zephyr to cast the game. Let's go.
Yeah!
The internet did not go boom on him this time, and
Please
we are...
don't say anything. I swear,
Yes.
The more you talk about it, you increase the chance by like 1% every time.
What do you mean? What are you talking about?
Hey,
I don't know what you're talking about.
There you go. Smooth.
But regardless, on to the Rift we go, and both junglers. It's going to be an interesting matchup because Viego, very strong as a jungler, has that reset potential all the time, and Morgana, she has a very quick clear, but she's not really seen as a jungler who's going to just massively outplay you on every stage of the game, and already going for an invade.
St. Thomas looking to capitalize here on this red side start. We know that the Morgana is relatively weak when it comes to the pacing and survivability within the jungle here, so maybe that little bit of health damage will delay what we see out of Mask here. Granted, Vivax does need to find his way back to his own jungle to make sure that he stays on something. Surprisingly, I actually don't think it's going to affect that much.
Yeah, I don't think it matters too much in the end because Graves still stuck around to give a couple of those auto attacks, but of note here, Ravax has the Grasp of the Undying. That is not a rune I think I've ever seen on Viego jungle here. Normally seen as a lane rune, you're proccing it a lot on your enemies, but in the jungle, you don't really get the value out of it. Would have expected something like the Conqueror. Even the press the attack if you were feeling really spicy, but very often it is that Conqueror to get as much healing as possible.
Taking a look here at Daemen in the bot lane, continuing to find some level of control that they were known for coming out of Game 1 as they're taking advantage of the pressure you kind of get from the threat being that Nautilus. It is something that I am surprised about. Typically, I would assume, Jhin Lux, heavy poke, a lot of consistency when it comes to the damage, especially as early as the first couple minutes of the game, might be able to push back, but that's just not happening.
Yeah, the push is going in favor of the center right now. And, we talked about how she's not going to be getting as many souls. She's going to be more focused on, if she's getting any souls, taking them from the champions, not from the minions, and looking for plays that way. But Mask is on the bottom side of the map. I don't know if there's much of a play here because of how pushed up this lane is. It's going to be down to a Yoruichi hook, if anything.
He might find it. He is sitting within that bush, but given the positioning within the minion wave as well as that ward that comes down there, I know that St. Thomas is playing with as much respect as possible. Still, Mask, no time wasted, will find that Morgana all the way over towards the scuttle, keep the presence up in the jungle, even if they can't quite find any game. And now it has happened to the opposite end here. Daemen has seemed to have lost connection completely.
Man, this is the most cursed broadcast. Every single team just can't seem to get their internet right. I mean, even the caster team can't get her internet right half the time.
Over here.
It is
Rare. It's your turn, by the way. You're the only individual. Actually, you know whose turn is? It's Production's turn.
I mean, that's the worst thing to happen. If Production starts disconnecting, then we're just completely lost. We're floundering around, and we're like, are we supposed to be able to see the game? Like, what's going on here? But yeah, unfortunately, it seems like there are some connection issues there. Hopefully get those sorted out as quickly as possible. But yeah, in the early game, not much to talk about quite yet, apart from the early invade. There hasn't really been much action. So I think that's the worst part about early game pauses is that we try and talk about stuff and we're like,
wow, the game paused at 2 minutes. What could be happening here? Not much, ladies and gentlemen. We haven't even seen the game start. Yes. So game paused here. I'm not quite sure if there's anything much left for it to say other than the fact that we hope it comes back fairly soon, right? I believe we might be able to throw this one. I would hate to do it. as I feel like we've been off air. But no, it looks like we actually do have word that Daemen were able to find their way back onto the Rift. So we're going to be jumping right back into the second game here between these two squads, and I couldn't be more happy.
Oh, man. We dodged a bullet there, to say the least. We dodged Jin's 4th shot at all costs, but yes, back into the game. Yeah, I mean, what were we going to talk about at 3 minutes? We were just going to sit here and be like, yeah, how's the weather out there? Yeah, that's pretty good. But now we get to look at the weather of this bot lane, and it's a better performance already coming out from Idle and the Skullduster.
Mind
they
you,
haven't died yet.
I was going to say, we are slightly pulled back here as that ward just comes down once again. So getting a little bit of some repeat action, the rotation mask back onto that scuttle. So some deja vu for the next, 30-odd seconds. But
yes,
I'm going to get a quick pause there. That's that DC,
there
we go.
Yes.
Everyone's back into it.
Yeah, we did deja vu for a little bit there. Yeah, it's hard to notice because early games meld into each other, but now here's the play.
Ooh, look at the bind found there, straight into the dredge line. Gonna force that flash out, but not enough. Still finds his way under turret. They're gonna go for the complete chase, of course, as they've got the tankiness of that Nautilus to confirm that kill. And once again, Daemen on top, straight in the spot lane.
Yeah, they somehow, some way find that play without using either of Yorichi's summoner spells of note. No exhaust coming down to try and slow down the Jin, but Senna able to get down that damage and pick up that kill. And I mean, it's just the classic caster curse. I say, you know what?
Yeah.
Idle's doing great in this lane. Idle dies right away. So, anytime I mention anything about anyone, it's bound to be bad news. As Solo Vayne main.
Now, he doesn't quite have the Rift Walk yet, so he is going to be forced to blow that flash. This is very nice for St. Thomas if they want to make a potential re-engage. Diomar, Bolt, and ReviveX have their flash, but Mask is quick to assume a shadow position here, potentially to set something up, but more importantly, maybe you just give some control back to Solo Vayne main here to make sure that Diomar is consistently punished in this lane. And that's what I really like about what Daemen's doing right now. They know there's a lot of strength that can be found through playing in Diomar, and they pick a champion that, one, especially after he hits 6, cannot be capitalized on by jungle gank, and then on top of that are constantly forcing that wave and trying to minimize what pressure he may have. We'll say though, Diomar doing a great job, still sitting at what is now a 3-wave advantage over Solo Vayne.
Yeah, it's really important because you look at the rune choices here as well. Very often you see the Victor go for something like a first strike, go for the teleport, purely for that late game scaling. Yeah. Diomar here went for Electrocute, went for Ignite. He's looking to get as many kills as possible, as early as possible in this lane as well. So curious to see the adaptation in terms of runes go in a more aggressive setup, and we'll see if it ends up paying off, because right now, Solo Vayne main, no summoner spells. This is your time to shine if you are Diomar, to get your team back to even state, despite it only being a 1-kill disadvantage.
Looking again, Mask back in this bot lane. There is no vision to warn this. It's a great light on the bind, and no one is locked down here. Even still, Daemen will continue to follow this one up with no CC. A big flash from Yorichi to get the guaranteed root down. Verex going to pick this one up as another root. Secures our Lux under turret. Once again, are not picking up a majority of that damage, which... the final turret shot does land. This is a big shutdown, but it is going to be thrown into the hands of Skullduster. Either way, a 3-in-1 Senna now.
Yeah, the 3-in-1 Senna is definitely not something you want to see in that early game. We talked about how Senna very reliant on scaling, and you know how you accelerate scaling? By killing the enemy. Yes. Get kills, get rich, get scaled, and that's basically what's happening. And
Scrooge
of note...
McDuck.
Scrooge McSenna? Is that what we're doing?
Yeah, Scrooge McSenna in the bot lane, just hoarding all that gold for himself. Like I said, that's going to accelerate here, but feel free to hold your thought, I guess, actually, now as ReviveX is potentially looking for this. This is bad timing, though, for St. Thomas. They're nowhere in control of the wave state, and as a result, they don't really have a crash at all. Clorox going to spot this one out, and look, Yorichi, he's also rotated up as well to potentially capitalize on this bad rotation. Back in ReviveX goal, Solo Vayne is also available. He has that Rift Walk to find his way in to the Tri-Bush and pick up the first kill here. Undying Rage to start off his Dolphin will go for the big flash, but the Rift Walk comes through either way. We'll see if he can get the reset. Is one more here. Doesn't quite have the damage as, yes, Dolphin will find his way out, but still, Daemen in a great control here.
Yeah, Ravak's just a little bit too far forward there. Walked over a control ward. I don't know if he noticed it, but now Diomar in trouble.
I mean, there's not much to say there about that one. He's already gone, wiped from the rift. Whew. And now, we talked about a scaling Fed Senna. If that's bad, Solo Vayne main's worse. You do not put a Kassadin on accelerated trackings.
You don't want to give this Kassadin any more gold than he has any right to have in bot lane.
Rare, why don't you cast this one? Go ahead.
Yes, Senna gonna be dropping down the Dawning Shadow. Damage coming down. Idol gonna be walking under that tower. Walks back, gets rooted up. And now Skull Duster in trouble. We'll stay alive.
Gotta hand one over to the Co as much as you can, especially when the game is filled with as much consistent action as we're seeing here. Fantastic job, by the way. I know you like to flex every once in a while. Still, though, it's a 4-1 Senna. I'm getting a little bit of I know we talked about deja vu earlier. Well, this is looking a whole lot like game 1 here for Daemen.
And it's surprising because
Massive.
maybe we just have these expectations of players that they can carry these games to unreal heights, and maybe it's putting too much pressure on them. It's the caster curse coming to light once again, potentially, but Daemen have done a really good job of keeping themselves very relevant in this early game. There is one thing I want to point out, though. There's still a 30 CS lead on Diomar here. There's still a 30 CS lead on Dolphin here as well. That is substantial amounts of gold.
And it's enough to pressure Solo Vayne in moments like this to find a return, a shutdown. The second kill of the game here for St. Thomas. Daemen is quick to follow up straight into the mid lane here, but I like this. Revivac shadowing. They might not know. Yoruichi is immediately eliminated. An absurd amount of burst here provided.
Well-played fight coming through from Ravak's Dolphin and Diomar there. Diomar able to get that solo kill under the tower, and noticing that there's a bunch of people moving up says, hey, Dolphin, come here, buddies, let's go, let's get him. And they're able to find the kill onto the Nautilus, so they're able to also pick up some plates on the bottom side of the map, but more action here, oh my goodness.
Rex starting this one up. It's a huge source of damage onto Skull already now. 50% of the health left here. Curtain Call is thrown out, but this won't stop Lux from being killed. And even that last fourth shot there on the mask didn't really look too pressing.
Still had a lot of health there for Mask. I mean, dodging away from him, dodged the same way 4 times, you know. You've got to hit at least one of them, gets the 4th shot, but at the end of the day, this Morgana's done a great job of having this consistent pressure on the map. You can see 0-0 and 6 has those 5 stacks on the Dark Seal as well. So the Morgana jungle able to keep pace, if not outpace, Ravak's in this early game thus far. And it's surprising considering he said, you gotta be careful when playing the Morgana jungle. She can fall into the pitfall of getting invaded on repeat. Thus far, no real aggressive plays onto this Morgana as she's just been farming up.
I will say something that St. Thomas does excel, pretty great at is the fact that their fundamental clear is so much quicker and more refined than Daemen, at least what I'm seeing from Dolphin, Rivax, and Diomar, right? And that little bit of gold that they continue to pocket here and there from minute by minute just accumulates. And that's where we see fights like the one in the mid lane that just collapse otherwise. But here's another one. Dawning Shadow, shield up, and whoo, you talked about an invade. This one was sorely punished. They're not that far ahead.
Yeah, it's still a lead for the side of Daemen, but oh, Diomar.
He's more than fine there. They cannot quite chase it. I think Yoruichi has learned his lesson from last time, running directly into the victor. Not quite the best of ideas, and that's kind of what we were building up to before Revax kind of played against our narrative here, as the gold does amount to something. Either way, Clark's Dolphin, a little bit of trades back and forth there. It still won't really amount to a kill. Potentially a dive with the wave under turret. We know the Undying Rage. That's where we do see the Ghost come out here. He's going to be targeted by turret directly as Clorix taking a majority of this one. Blast back with the collateral damage. Rage is still in availability, but he goes straight back into turret, and that will be Dolphin down, his first death of the game here.
On a little bit of a peculiar play as well, because Clorox still had that ultimate to be able to gain a little bit of distance. Dolphin just sort of tried to pull the trigger and didn't quite have the damage, didn't have the Noon Quiver there quite yet. I believe was only sitting on the Berserker Greaves. So those auto attacks, they were kind of tickling the Graves and just a little bit too aggressive.
Also, you have to take into account that things like the collateral damage did kind of break apart that wave, in addition to the damage that was provided overall from Clorox, so that might have assisted. Now Solo Vein main, though, punished for being a little too far forward, going to be able to dash out of the Chaos Storm, but straight into the hands of Revivex. Will be hit by that Dark Binding immediately as the Heartbreaker comes out. It's not quite in a good range. There's now Yoruichi in play, means he will escape to the tier 1. So, while we are seeing quite a dominant start from Daemon, it is these little mistakes that keep St. Thomas within the game here.
I think the biggest difference here is just having Diomar in this mid lane, having this force to stand up against Solo Vein main. You've seen a little bit of aggression come through from this Kassadin, and it's being punished every single time. Granted, it's not a huge advantage for Diomar thus far, but look at the CS numbers. 119 CS on this Victor to the 73 of the Kassadin. They've been able to find punishment when they have the opportunity. But speaking of punishment, ooh, great ward.
It's a nice ward, but got to be a little bit careful here. They're spending quite some time. Granted, it is to find priority, but hey, just missed it. It is Revivex and Dolphin finding the solo here on to Clorox. Now, this is going to guarantee first turret found for St. Thomas University. The trade will, of course, be this Hextech Drake here on the bot side, knowing that they have that information regarding the jungler.
And having that dragon now taken down, gonna make sure that... Oh, wait a sec! Jin stole it.
Jin found the steal there for St. Thomas. So overall, it's a massive win for St. Thomas. There is no equivalent return here for Daemon, and that's gotta suck.
At this point, like, they have the kill lead, but that's the only thing that they can say they have the lead in right now. The Senna is 5-1. She's still a force to be reckoned with, but all of a sudden, you know, Dolphin and DMR have started to turn on the Jets. They're starting to come into their own here. You see the Ludens complete on the Victor. We'll see likely the Gale Force or the Kraken Slayer complete on that Tryndamere as well in the next little bit. They're looking to start to take this game by storm, and that Solo Vein main's got some crazy damage. I don't know how this is going to end.
Ooh, nice root is found there from Mass stepping in, but Revivex, a great shadow of play in the jungle. Shell Shackles will come back and just barely find the full stun there to secure the kill. So while Diomar was able to find his way out, Revivex, his sacrifice, is taken advantage of. There is no wave to potentially find this tier 1 in the mid, but with the next crash, maybe. Looks like Diomar is looking for that back. He is far too low on health, but with everyone rotating and the bot lane constantly being pushed in, I don't think the mid turret is at any risk.
It's a little bit interesting to see the different styles of gameplay coming through from St. Thomas and from Daemon. You see Daemon consistently grouping up, getting those skirmishes, turning, you know, a 2-on-2 to a 4-on-2 as quickly as possible. That's how they're able to find their advantages because of their team play, where at St. Thomas, it feels like they're playing solely for the individuals. And while Dolphin is very scary on this top side of the map, now completing that Gale Force, and Diomar, as we've been mentioning, very scary in the mid lane, 50 CS up on this Kassadin, you still have to respect that Daemon are going to bring more than just the Senna gun to the gunfight. They're going to bring the Kassadin, they're going to bring the Graves, they're going to bring everyone that they can.
Oh, Dolphin doesn't even manage to take the red buff here. Clorox, a big flash over the wall, will be followed through. So Dolphin does secure this, but Solo Vein main is on the hunt here. Tier 2 is still up. The minions are going to take the majority of damage there as Dolphin is able to dash out. We'll see how quick this Rift Walk can come back up as the hunt continues. Another silence found. A bit of a slow over the wall to follow. Mask is there as well, but Revivex to defend. Yoruichi, though, with the depth charge to get the double knockup. Even then, Tryndamere is out. Diomar with the pinch to throw down the gravity. Now, oh, our big Senna finally in play. Going to be taking it toe-to-toe right against Diomar. He's going to throw that Chaos Storm to push it back as the teleport now to find it into the tribe. But Yoruichi will be the first to fall, but Diomar is obliterated. 2 members of St. Thomas down as Dolphin walks away.
And Dolphin started that fight out by losing the red buff. Picks up the kill onto Clorox, and that skirmish lasted so long that Clorox able to rejoin that fight at the end and saw what the Senna can do. She is fed, to say the least here. With that Eclipse already complete, DMR didn't stand a chance at staying alive, but meanwhile, on the bottom side of the map, St. Thomas are able to get that tower on the bottom side, and yes, you lose the fight, you lose 2 members. I want to say one of your most important members goes down there, but you save the bounty on Dolphin, and you pick up that bot lane tower, so St. Thomas make the most of the situation.
Right, but it is a little bit of a pressing mistake. It could have gone far worse there, and I understand you pull for the red buff and you play as aggressive as you can there into the enemy jungle, but a lot of unnecessary death, especially the one being found there directly onto DMR. That is not what you want to see, especially out of something as hefty as a carry here for this Victor. Yoruichi, though, might be punished in just the same way. Gonna have to throw the dredge line into wall to find to safety. Mask blocking 2 of those curtain call shots. He will be out of this one, but with the majority of his health down here and the dragon up in 38 seconds, I wonder if he has enough time to make full reset.
And DMR looking poised to find as many plays as possible, just find the solo kills, and you saw 70% of Nautilus' health. Oh.
Whoa! Unexpected! Unable to get the Undying Rage off, and I'm not surprised. That was a huge source of burst. The damage, unprecedented there. Now, it is a 4v5 in the face of this dragon. A massive wave crashing into tier 1. Your Jhin sitting at 1/4 of their health, and now Rift crashing. Daemen have taken this one back in record time.
It's control over the map. While it's not the biggest pick to get that kill onto the Tryndamere, they're able to drop down that Rift Herald. They're able to get this dragon. DLR's looking for a steal, though.
No steal, though, will be found. They've learned their lesson. The smite is secured here for Mask. They are unable to follow up and pick up that tier 1, but the pressure provided from the Rift is enough to secure, and now will follow through here. Skulldusker doesn't quite find that route. It's a good dodge using the Rift Walk as they are able to finally put the last bullets there into that turret.
Picking up that mid lane turret opens up the map so much more for the side of Daemon. They're able to rotate around a lot easier. However, you look at the side lanes here for the side of St. Thomas. Those are the towers that are down.
Sorry, Diomar caught out. Dredge line, double knockup. They don't quite have any more CC to their name, but that is another major takedown here on your star carry. I mean, you can't be playing like this if you're looking for a way back in.
And it's uncharacteristic in a sense that DMR is getting caught out this far up in the lane. Just seems like they're getting caught with no attention to this Nautilus, but give credit where credit is due. Lots of damage coming through from this Senna, from this Kassadin at this stage. They have been given, 5 and 6 kills respectively. This Senna now sitting on 2.5 items, the Kassadin on 1.5 items. This isn't something that you can just ignore. You can't just say, yeah, I'll one-shot them when the time comes. They're scaling quite hard, and you've got to be careful because any sort of picks, if you get 2 or 3 of them, that could lead to a Baron, that could lead to a push, and all of a sudden your game starts to fall apart instead of saying, yeah, you know what, we've got this in the bag, we've got the scaling. It starts to fall apart after that.
Right. And here's the thing, I just think it's a lack of respect here. We already know they can provide just a buttload of damage. We can see their items. We just have that analysis from watching the game as a whole here. But still, St. Thomas continue to step into play without any regard for it. And Daemon, they've drafted a composition that is so good at going for the individual soul takedown. And given that, you've got that 5-2 cast and 6-1 Senna here for Varix, I mean, you just can't be making moves like that. Once again, though, Dolphin looking to fight out here. And Undying Rage is going to be utilized. Double flash. He will pick up the kill here onto Clorax with such an aggressive rotation. Mask is coming into the blue side jungle. Not going to use that blast cone as Dolphin will make his presence known as he does start to clear that wave. This leaves open that bot side in terms of macro, so it will alleviate a little bit of the pressure here for St. Thomas's. Now Diomar looking for a return gank. Verex going to have to be forced into the void. They're still caught by the Lux ultimate. Iruchi under turret there, but the heartbreak will find its success. Won't be taking the trade on a knot, but this will open up a full collapse here onto the tier 1. Flying over the wall. Diomar with the flash for a big shutdown there onto Verex on this Senna as they secure that first tier 1.
That's a lot of damage coming through from the Lich Bane on Diomar, and now you start to see why this guy is so highly regarded.
Mask just barely out by the skin of their teeth there. Even still, it's a massive win for St. Thomas without the Morgana kill going on their belt. Finally, what was a very even game up until this point due to the fact that St. Thomas was maintaining in the base wave gold has ballooned now to almost a 4K lead.
It's starting to go a lot more the way that we were expecting it to go from the beginning, but it's odd to see it happen this late into the game. You know, it's a 4,000, 5,000 almost gold lead now coming through from St. Thomas, and a lot of that is due to DMR and Dolphin able to find, you know, a couple more kills for themselves, pick up some shutdowns onto some key members like Verx and Solo Vayne main, but it's odd to see it happen this late. We expected this to maybe happen 5, 10, 15 minutes ago where they're picking up all of these kills. It's given Daemen a little bit of confidence, and that might be their downfall. Granted, now this Victor is starting to be a little bit ridiculous with the damage.
I think the Victor has consistently been a problem for Daemen to deal with here. It's just at the point now where if you do get caught out by the Victor, you are sorely done and out of this game here. Once again, Dolphin continuing to put the macro pressure down. This takes Clorox out of the fights consistently, and now we know for a fact that the one-on-one matchup will probably no longer go in his favor. So there's only so long that Daemen have to at least keep some metal into this game here, because I'll tell you what, these are some great scalers, and with damage like that on Yoruchi, it's enough to finish it out. Big silence, straight into the Dawning Shadow. Root found. Mask will get the return as the Heartbreaker breaks its way back. A big curtain call shot there as Solo Vayne main is swooping through from behind. Revive X will be rooted for the double. Clorox with the TP will be unable to find his way onto either Dolphin or Id, but this just evens out this team fight to agree. Still though, it will secure them the mountain and put Daemen on soul point.
And it's odd positioning coming through from DMR, just moving a little bit too far forward, getting caught out by just all this damage, all this front-loaded damage. And now Idle, yeah, this is tough.
Caught idle, some would say. A joke on his name, but yeah. Big pickup there for Solo Vayne main. It is going to delay a lot of what Daemen can do. I know we're going to see a slight reset here, or my apologies, of what St. Thomas can do. We're going to see a slight reset of Daemen, so it shouldn't matter. But that is a big timer to start taking a look at. At 26 minutes, you do begin to see those kind of extend out. And without that one member down, you do give the opportunity for people like Yoruchi to start walking in and appropriating some of the vision necessary to maybe look towards that Baron.
I think a big part of how Daemen need to start to take playing. Let's try that again. The way that Daemen need to start playing this game is they need to try and take down DMR and Dolphin as quickly as possible, because they're starting to get to these item points that you can't fight against. You know, Tryndamere has effectively 3 items with the BF sword alongside the components for that Mortal Reminder. Got the needlessly large rod on DMR as well, building towards potentially a Rabadon's. This is a lot of damage coming out from those main carries, and the Jhin, who had such a tough early game, now's got those 2 items, so not as big of a slouch as you would expect. So there's a lot of damage coming through. You've just got to make sure you're picking your fights wisely, playing around Yoruchi's hooks here, if anything, as well as setting up that vision, like you were saying, to make sure that their fights are the exact amount of people that they are expecting.
I will say something that led to kind of that fight's victory there, albeit what we did see was the drop on both Mask and Yoruichi, was the fact that attention was split, right? You had such a deep rotation in there from Dio and Revivax especially, and the backline was constantly pressured by Solo Vein kind of coming into that fight. I won't say late, but from a different angle, right? And as a result, there's still a lot you have to keep attention to if you are St. Thomas looking for a win into this game here. You have a comp that's full force, likes to run you down, looks for a major move here going into any team fight. But if Daemen can split attention, kind of slow things up, then there's nothing you really get the opportunity to work with. Even still, St. Thomas, Dolphin, making good use of that macro Titan that we talked about when we brought up Tryndamere in the draft, finding damage onto what is the inhib turret in this bot.
It's basically just a situation where it's going to be a 45 on the map, but then there's Tryndamere. You've always got to remember that Tryndamere exists. You've got to send someone, maybe 2 members to deal with them, and you can see what that's doing to the side of Daemen. They're splitting their focus so hard. This Graves now on the bottom side of the map. It gives the opportunity for Diomar and Ravax to move up and take that top lane tower. Now, this Tryndamere just going to clear out the entire bot side jungle, go back to that bot lane, and just be a nuisance for the rest of this game. Doesn't even have teleport, so it's not like he's trying to join the fight. He's just trying to take your base and everything alongside with it.
Right, and that's exactly what a Tryndamere should be doing at any given point here. Thankfully, Clorox now does have the teleport in place, so he doesn't have to kind of play ends against the middle, trying to like set himself up to potentially be at a fight here. And thankfully, as the map closes in tightly into the base here, as a Tryndamere, or as Daemon, you don't have to worry as much because it's much quicker to respond given that you have less distance to cover here, at least in Clorox's case. And we will address it, an absurd amount of damage put down onto Yoruichi there. That Victor, 16 now, sitting with a massive, almost Flame Horizon set of CS ahead. The Lich Bane, the Rabadons here, the Ludens, just a severe amount of burst available.
And it's the difference between farming well and getting kills. And you can see Solo Vein still has a very impressive inventory, but still down 1,300 gold. Like, that is the difference between having the Rabadons and not having it. Granted, I think the Kassadin might be able to almost pick that up here as well. So the Squid will start to become a little bit scary. You're going to have to start to play that game about, 14 out of 16. You've got to worry because it's still scary, but Space Squid going to be moving down to the bottom side. That's time for them to start up Baron if you are St. Thomas. That's what Dolphin wants to do. Pull more than one member so that you can start up these objectives.
That's awful. No vision, a massive walk-in. Don't let not front. As a result, Diomar quickly capitalizes on the mistake. Picks up 2 here. Solo Vein, you're far too late. No respect for the vision in play there. Clorox will potentially fall as well, slowed down, and with one final dash, Dolphin still picks it up. Virix of his own flash here to look for the play, and he can't even find the kill. It's a massive waste.
Oh no, and I mean, this is what we were expecting out of DMR, to just walk up to someone and one-shot someone, but that was ugly. That was rough if you are Mask, and now this Tryndamere are going to be able to prevent the soul, despite having, about 300 health.
It doesn't matter.
Dragon
doesn't do damage to anybody. Who cares?
Yeah, dragons are kind of weak, but it's starting to go pretty heavily in favor of St. Thomas now. You can see even the gold on the top laners, almost a 4,000 gold lead for the Tryndamere. That's leading to an item and a half up on this Graves. And the Graves has had a good performance. 250 CS, 3, 4, and 2, has 2.5 items. But it's not enough. It's not enough in the face of this absolute menace.
And the craziest thing is, we take a look at this game 10 minutes ago, there was still a lot of a chance for Daemon to work through majority of these fights. And I will be honest and say, there is still that opportunity. The problem is St. Thomas is doing such a great job of just disrupting everything on the map. The constant pressure applied from Dolphin is such a problem, and I will go out on a limb and say it's probably what will contribute to their win if they manage to come out on top of this game.
I think it's going to be a pretty massive contributor as now they continue that march down the mid lane, but you can just see it's night and day compared to last game. While they don't have the kill leads, it doesn't matter because their macro is so on point. This Tryndamere is playing this 4-1 comp so efficiently by just being able to win the 1v1 first and foremost, and just being as annoying as possible to everyone else.
Oh, it was a big root found there onto Daemen, and it will take success there. It's going to take the going of gold for Solo Vane to come out on top, but everyone else falls in the meantime. Verix and Clark's the only two left standing. Dolphin to chase under turret here. He's going to go for the Undying Rage as your inhib turret falls. Inhib the next to go. Verix will try to fight back as he does source a huge chunk of damage onto Skull, but the majority of his team is no longer in play. First Nexus turret down. Big root doesn't quite land, but it will find Senna here. Stun Vigo into the back. The Heartbreaker to finish the kill, and the Nexus destroyed to take us to game 3.
And that is more akin to what we were expecting of St. Thomas University after a little bit of a rough game 1 performance where, you know, the internet didn't want them to win there at that point, but this time around, they're able to get it done. Zephyr was able to stay on the cast the entire time as well. Everyone's internet ended up working out, except for Daemen's like 3 minutes in. But
weird.
At the end of the day, it's a very strong victory for St. Thomas. They get a lot of that momentum back, if anything, putting it into their own favor. And now, Daemen have really got to figure out what to do about this two-pronged threat from St. Thomas. You've got Dolphin, you've got Daemen. Who are you going to 5-ban out at that point? That's sort of the thing. It's like, which poison would you rather take? And at the end of the day, is that even going to be enough? Are you going to be able to find that antidote at the end of the day?
I will say, I think Daemen might have had that game in their belt had the pressure from Dolphin not been so oppressive. I think the Tryndamere pick was absolutely fantastic going into the second game here, and I think it was the main crux. We could talk about Daemen staying on top of the game constantly, but we knew that Victor was going to be a problem, and it provided, given that he played out of his mind to keep St. Thomas alive, even though the bot lane was just being decimated there. So, but I will say, Dolphin on that 1-4 split, imagine Clorox actually able to play those team fights through the mid game, given you had a regular or more generalized top laner actually picked out here from St. Thomas. I'm pretty sure we wouldn't have been seeing a game 3 right now.
And I think that at the end of the day, there needs to be a little bit of reflection on how Daemen are going to play out their mid game, because their early game, fantastic. They had the lead going in. We were questioning it. We were like, did we cast their curse STU a little bit too hard? But then that mid game comes around. Then the map opens up and we just see why Dolphin and Daemen are so well regarded, because they can play that mid game and late game so well. So it's really up to Daemen to sort of fix their mid game or just destroy the early game even harder like they did in game 1.
Well, that's up to the two teams ahead of us. We can't make that decision. We have no control over the source of that information. So as for us on desk, we're going to be making our way towards that third and final game here tonight. Stick around and stay tuned.
Lux with the range advantage, but on the bottom side here, the Root's coming down onto ultimate. Trial gonna be forced to try and Justice Punch out of there, but the long range rocket gonna pick up first blood for Verk. This Ezreal is not having fun playing League of Legends right now. The invade gonna come down. It's Mazgan Yoryuchi trying to fight Ravax here, and Ravax isn't looking on the brighter side of this one. Gonna be taken down as well as ECC Maz. Picks up their second kill of the game. Event Horizon gonna come down, and Solo Vane main presses that outplay button to good old Arky for one at the end of the day, but not the cleanest dive I've ever seen. But Yoruchi looking for that pull. It's gonna be Moonfall onto the Galio, and Verk's gonna pick up another one. The fact that objective bounties are already coming through for this side of SQ sort of tells the story as Skull Duster here gonna be in a little bit of trouble. Will be in that cage, but Rayback's gonna try and move forward. DCC Mask able to land more damage down, and unfortunately,
I'm very curious to see what STU does next, but could be a catch.
Dolphin able to dodge away from the hook, will get hit by that depth charge. Is in the shrouds though, so has a little bit of safety. Rayvax though taking a whole bunch of damage. Gonna be Dolphin getting out through the Vagar, but it does not matter. Vagar will take it down with that primordial burst, and under the tower as well, the Moonfall comes down. down. And in that regard, this Akali isn't able to just scale, pick up her second item, be able to assassinate this Jinx in the backline. Instead, it's going to be DC Mask going into the backline, able to find the move ball into 2. That's going to be a kill already picked up. Solo Daemen able to take down another one. This Veigar is starting to be a little scary. So is this Jinx as he goes unstoppable. Double kill coming through for the Veigar. The only one to stay alive for now is the...
Take the fight to them. I mean, they're this far ahead. I don't see why not. Here we go.
Yeah, move ball gonna come down. Dolphin using the stopwatch really efficiently, but it does not matter. You save face at this point. You can see DC Mask going so aggressively forward, missing that last sliver of damage onto the Ezreal. Will go down in the end to teams meld into each other, but now
ooh, look at the bind found there, straight into the dredge line. Gonna force that flash out, but not enough. Still, finds way under turret. They're gonna go for the complete chase, of course, as they've got the tank.
you don't want to give this Cassidy any more gold than he has any right to have in bot lane.
Rare, why don't you cast this one? Go ahead.
Yes, and I'm gonna be dropping down the Dawning Shadow. Damage coming down. Idol gonna be walking under that tower. Walks back. That's still Dustin in trouble. There's one thing I want to point out though. Still a 30 CS lead on Daemen here. There's still a 30 CS lead on Dolphin here as well. That is substantial amounts of gold.
And it's enough to pressure Solo Vayne in moments like this to find a return, a shutdown. The second kill of the game here for St. Thomas. Daemen is quick to follow up straight into the mid lane here, but I like this. Revivac shadowing. They might not know. Yoruichi is immediately eliminated. An absurd amount of burst here provided. The trade will, of course, be this Hextech trade here on the bot side, but they have that information regarding the
Having that dragon now taken down, gonna make sure that... Oh! Wait a sec! Jin stole it.
Jin found the steal there for St. Thomas. So overall, it's a massive wall to follow. Mask is there as well, but Revivex to defend. Yoruichi, though, with the depth charge to get the double knockup. Even then, Tryndamere is out. Diomar with the pinch to throw down the gravity. Now, our big Senna finally in play. Going to be taking it toe-to-toe right against Diomar. He's going to throw that Chaos Storm to push it back as the teleport now to find it into the Tri-Bush. Yoruichi will be the first to fall, but Diomar is obliterated. 2 members of St. Thomas down is Dolphin. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Esports U. We're already getting prepared here for our third and final game of the night between St. Thomas University and Daemen University themselves. I'm still Zephyr. This is still Rare Adam. I'm still hoping that I'll be alive throughout the entirety of this game, and I think Rare Adam is hoping just as much.
I mean, I haven't had any problems yet. We've been Bing chilling, as the cool kids say, you know, that's what they've been saying, right? You know, John Cena speaking Mandarin, all of that stuff. I do know it. I'm not gonna repeat it on broadcast. I'm gonna save your ears for today, Zephyr. I got you next time though. But regardless, here, St. Thomas coming back
sure.
with.
Isn't it just an ice cream? Like, hold the phone. We got some time here. Isn't it just an ice cream advertisement?
It's him advertising the fact that he is eating ice cream, but I think he's also advertising Fast and Furious, but he's doing it in Mandarin, which just makes it kind of funnier because it's John Cena and
yeah.
I mean, John Cena. John Cena's a great.
Ladies and gentlemen, they tell you the information. That's what color casters are good for, even when it's about John Cena. I'll tell you what, though, Rare Adam's a whole lot better at talk. Well, I'll just say this: that wasn't that bad. So don't get me wrong, but he can tell you a whole lot more when it comes to this draft. So we're going to jump right into that here in a moment. But before we do, is there anything you want to see right off the bat? Big bands here on the board, potentially for looking for a Daemen win.
If we're looking for a Daemen win, they did pick blue side. I think a really big ban here is going to be Caitlyn banned out because it gives you the opportunity to pick Jinx first, and it prevents the enemy from taking effectively the equal player in that AD carry. You want the Jinx to yourself because she gets excited. She's able to run around the map. We saw last game, Jinx, Caitlyn, Aphelios banned away. They went down to the Jhin Senna. I think if you're Daemon, you want to take that Jinx because it performed very well for you in game one. I think other bans that you got to think about, though, are anything that DMR plays, specifically the Kiana, because he will pull out that Kiana and he will absolutely destroy you. I think that's really where he started to get his claim to amateur fame in that sense, playing that Kiana mid lane and just roaming around, wreaking havoc on everyone. And I think maybe if you don't have an answer to that Tryndamere in the second phase of bans, get it out of there, because the Tryndamere did make that game a lot harder to deal with for Daemon once it got to that mid game, because no one could match him in the side. They took it away. Oh no!
Nah,
He
I'm
froze
kidding.
again.
I'm actually
Oh
here.
my!
That took quite a while. I did not expect you to go on for what was 30, 60 seconds there. I'll tell you what, my eyes, surprisingly, were not watering. Either way, ladies and gentlemen, we're already in to our third and final draft of the night here. And no surprise, Caitlyn, big ban, but it was actually St. Thomas who pulls it away, of course, as well as the Tryndamere and Jinx. So a whole lot of lessons continuing to be learned here from the games from earlier.
You know what? Zephyr said he was going to do this at some point, and I was like, after it happened the second time, when he just got, I was like, I don't want to test it. I'm not going to do it. And then he does it. You know, third time's the charm. That's how you get him every time. But regardless, the Jinx getting banned away. The Graves is going to be taken away from Clorox here. And this is interesting to see solo Vayne main this time, pulling out the Victor that did so well for St. Thomas last game in DMR's hands.
And you know what? I think that's a fantastic pick. I wonder if we're going to see the stereotypical kind of blind response that is the Corki here into the hands of DMR. I know that's been a prevalent choice in the meta and can easily be done here for St. Thomas. Instead, though, they're going to continue to give a level of aggression towards Dolphin. This time, not as much as that split push. I will say it is something that cannot be matched in the 1v1 stereotypically when we talk about Camille and scaling, but a lot more of a team presence this time.
And the Camille has incredible lane presence, has incredible team fight presence with the teleports, will generally take that ignite to really bully out some lanes. I'm curious to see how Dolphin plays this Camille, because I think there's two camps of Camille players. There's solo kill you every single time, and I'm just going to stay top lane the entire game. And then there's your more team fight oriented Camille, where yes, you can get your solo kills in lane, but you're coming to every fight. You're always the first one to teleport in. You're the one sequestering out their jungler.
Right.
And with the response here of the Aphelios Nautilus here, Yoruichi's looked really good on this Nautilus. I think throughout these last two games, that has been the main consistent for Daemon. And why change it up when you can keep that force in the bottom lane? Gives you so much engage, and Skullduster just wants to run it back.
I don't particularly think the Lux was terrible in the hands of Skullduster. Granted, I don't think it's been the major setup for a majority of the fights here. What it has provided, though, is there's a lot of times that we have seen Daemon kind of step out of position relatively so, and they go for this really aggressive move, whether it be on the Nautilus or something else looking to set up, and defensively, that's when that Lux comes into play and has been a huge success for the St. Thomas roster. Now, I'd like to see, once again, that St. Thomas here is drafting for that early mid-game kind of ballooning presence in this composition. More play out of Skullduster, right? I want to see, early gauge, early setup, some kind of rotation, maybe with Revive Axe, to start something off for St. Thomas University.
And I think a really interesting ban to note here is two jungle bans coming out from St. Thomas. They're trying to keep DC Mask off of some of that comfort, because we've seen that Mask has done a great job of that, but the Veigar and the Vex are banned away from DMR. They're taking away these super scaling mid lane pickups here. However, it's not enough, I feel like. Especially considering Solo Vayne main played a great Veigar game already, it is an option that you could have picked blind in this situation. And with the Viego now locked in once again for Ravax, who had a pretty good performance on that Viego, all things considered, a little bit rough in the early game, was able to get back on track in the mid game. it's going to be tough to find an answer for this mid lane because you're going to have to. Well, you have the Victor already. I've just realized that. So you got to find an answer to the top lane here. And the fact that they haven't really found anything yet is a little bit worrying because this Camille can abuse so many matchups. And whatever comes through for Daemen here can as well bully out this Victor because I think Corki's still available, but there's a couple of other options like LeBlanc, like Akali, who can really take over a game.
Well, something that is picked out in response here will be the Mordekaiser straight into the Camille, and it will dissuade a little bit of the pressure provided, and it does swing back with just as much team presence necessary here. Granted, it is going to take a bit of a second, but once fully scaled up, the survivability is enough to, I think, take a more direct one-on-one matchup compared to what we were seeing out of Game 2, where Dolphin was able to just at a certain point run Clorox down here. To finish off the draft, Daemen going to be putting himself on the Sylas. Now, this time around, this is a lot of big movements from Daemen. We need to see, I mean, trust me, if he plays with the same level of control on the wave as we saw in Game 2, then my comment doesn't matter, right? He found gold whether we liked it or not. But if he is brought down in any way and prevented from becoming that hyperscaling, major healing, Sylas nuisance that we know, you're missing one major key component of what makes St. Thomas tick here.
And I think a big factor is the ultimates that you have to steal here, they're okay. The Nautilus ultimate, very good. You get that basically AoE knockup that it is now onto the Aphelios, onto the Victor, onto someone like that. The Mordekaiser ultimate as well, fantastic because you can hold on to that, wait until he ults the Camille out of the fight. You ult someone else down there, and all of a sudden it's a 2v2. It's a really cool interaction. Gonna mess with Spectate Client a whole bunch because we won't know who's actually fighting who at that point. But after that, it starts to fall off a little bit. Victor Ultimate's a little bit hard to use with Sylas because you want to be up in their face. You know, if you're the one who's stealing that Victor Ultimate and using it, you're usually using it as a finisher tool as opposed to what Victor uses as part of the combo. Aphelios Ultimate can be good, but you can't follow up on it if it's the Gravitum ult. And Trundle Ultimate, it's okay. It's not amazing.
I like it for him. I think in terms of survival, I think it's one of the better ultimates that he could potentially pull. Granted, it's not as direct. Still, it is a response to the Subjugate, which I think is a really important piece.
And I think the main thing about the Subjugate war here is whoever uses the Subjugate second, so whether it's Trundle using it on Sylas after he's already used it on Nautilus per se, or if Sylas is using it on Trundle after he used it on the Lux per se, or the Camille, or whoever, that is going to be the main benefactor of it. So it's sort of about who fires second, and sometimes that just leads to no one using the Subjugate at all, and then we're just sitting here like, okay,
whatever.
So you have Trundle Ultimate, are you going to use it? So I think it gives a little bit of an interesting interaction. It's always fun when there's a Sylas into a game because then he starts to steal their voice lines and things and you get really confused. But at the end of the day, I like the team comp coming out from St. Thomas here. They're playing towards their win conditions, which is obviously Dolphin and Daemen in that mid lane. However, Daemen are hitting back with some pretty heavy blows as well. We know how strong Mr. 200 years in the bottom lane can be if unleashed.
Well, I think it's going to be a little bit of that early mid presence out of St. Thomas versus the hyper scaling, run you down, huge front secured by a massive burst of backline damage that will present itself in the mid to late out of Daemen College here. As for us, though, on the desk, we're going to go to break one last time before we make our way here onto the Rift. Stick around and stay tuned to the finale of this story. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Esports U broadcast. We are bringing you the final game here of the matchup between St. Thomas University and Daemen College in the
I see some cheese.
LOL regular season week 2, and you are sorely saddened.
Oh, no.
Award prevents the 5-man cheese there. A bit of a shame, but hey, anything to start the day gets us going. End the day.
The cheese is what I live for, man. That's what we get to do as having done some play-by-play as well. The level 1 cheese, it's like yes, fight level 1, because otherwise then you secede over to me for the next 5 minutes, and now I control your fate.
That's true. I don't really like cheese, I'll be honest. Only on like pizza and mac and cheese personally.
I think cheese as like a cult classic, if you want to put it that way, has been extremely overrated over time. I think people stand by cheese.
See, I can get behind this.
Absolutely.
You're a man of my world.
Degrees.
Yeah. But it is
we're gonna get
effective
canceled for
in terms of starting games off and getting kills.
And we get none of it this game, as both junglers going to start on their blue buffs. A very similar start to game 1, where we did see Mask have some very successful plays on the bottom side of the map. And of note, looking at some rune choices here, Solo Vainmain decided, DMR, you know what? I didn't like your runes. I'm going to go the standard stuff. Teleport as the summoner spell and First Strike to get a little bit more gold in that early game.
Yoruichi, still though. Big on the positioning here as we look towards this bot lane from Daemen. We'll see if they're able to keep the kind of same level of aggression, the dominance in control that we have seen in these last 2 games, right? And it's kind of led to a lot of the great starts for Daemen that they've had the opportunity to work with. I think the big thing I want to see is what Mask can do to kind of dissuade the pressure from either Dolphin or Diomar. Because once you break one of those core kind of fundamental pillars behind St. Thomas, I think a win is almost surefire for Daemen.
I think that a really big factor behind what will make Daemen's comp function is this Aphelios. I think Aphelios is a champion that can take over games. It's a very 1v9-esque champion, much more different than the AD carry choice for St. Thomas here, where they went for the Jhin, who provides a lot more utility, looking more towards Dolphin and Diomar to be that 1v9 hyper carry as well. But thus far in this lane, in all of these lanes, it is still going towards Daemen, as we have seen in the last 2 games. They're doing better, apart from top lane, of course.
Apart from Dolphin.
Yes, Dolphin is always going to be doing something different.
What I love about this is that a good source of wave control from Solo Vainmain, especially compared to what we saw in game 2. And granted, he's on the Victor now, so he has that level of control. Just, going into the melee matchup that is Silas here from Diomar. I mean, that's going to be oppressive always, right? And that will stunt the growth of this Silas and hopefully prevent, St. Thomas University from finding their win condition, which really needs to take place here within the next 12 minutes.
And I think a big factor about what is making this Silas do okay in this lane is the fact that Solo Vainmain hasn't had the confidence to just step up and look for these aggressive trades, because Silas can trade back so much more efficiently. If we want to look at what First Strike does, it front loads your damage. It says, do all your damage in the first 2.5 seconds. We'll get back to that point.
Oh, feel free to continue. It's only just a blown flash.
It's just a flash, but a lot of what Diomar wants to do here is have back-ended damage. They want to use that Kingslayer at the end of engages so that it gives them the bigger heal. However, they've still got to be careful of ganks.
Oh, it's a fantastic double usage of the CC from pillars straight into the gravity field, and that will be enough to force out the Diomar flash. And actually, it's something we haven't brought up for the majority of this comp. Every single member of Daemen has an absurd source of CC, but now Solo Vainmain, another gank on his own return here. Going to be punished out as Max now looks for the bot lane, able to blow the flash, but the dredge line still hits Skullduster to pull out the flash as well. This is four flashes blown across the board here for St. Thomas University. 3 technically for Daemen.
4 for 4 because, Dolphin doesn't even have a flash to burn there, but just summoners going amiss here. Right around 5 minutes, everyone says, you know what? It's time to blow everyone's flashes there. So there it is. No summoner spells to be able to escape. And some of them are more valuable than others. I think that especially for Idol and Skullduster, we know how important their flashes are because of how good Yoruichi's been with these hooks. But conversely, on the top side of the map, Korok's not having that flash is really big because Dolphin, if they're able to line up the hook shot, it's almost guaranteed if there's no flash to be able to escape from it.
Right. Same concept with Solo Vayne main. Technically, Victor, and aggressively. I mean, that's a terrible word for that. He's a mobile. We'll just say that. Too many adjectives in my play-by-play language. Either way, he is a mobile, and we talk about things like the Viego, and we talk about things like the Silas. They will get up on top of you, and you'll have no chance to escape. That's a big Gravitum. This could lead into a perfect dredge line. No route found there, except for the one onto Idol. Exhaust down. X trying to step up to get the last source of damage, but he just isn't there. Doesn't opt to switch to the Infernum at any given point. Even still, dredge line back onto Ryvax. And remember, he doesn't have a flash, and this will secure that first blood in the hands of Mask here for Daemon.
And a little bit of an interesting sequence of events there because Verx moves forward so aggressively looking for the play.
Huge stun, walks right back into the gravity field. What are you doing there, Butto? Oh, now it's a 2-0 start for Mask on the Trundle.
Yeah, I was about to, kind of rip into Daemon a little bit and say, the flash from Aphelios was 100% unnecessary. Then I looked at the CS and I'm like, oh, he's 20 CS up in this lane already here. And then, of course, in the mid lane, DMR tries to dodge away from the Trundle and ends up dodging right back into the Victor. It's picking your poison, and unfortunately both poisons end up in death. And for DMR there, has the Trundle ultimate, but what will they do with it? That's the real question, because we said it is great if you use it second, but if you just have it and you're holding on to it, it doesn't really provide you a whole lot of kill threat.
I would disagree. I think Subjugate is still something of presence to work with. I mean, it will still burn and tick down any major target. And if you do get the full collapse from Ryvax and Diomar at the same time onto Solo Vayne main, I think it's worthwhile. Yes. Is it as good as a depth charge, a Realm of Death? No. But right here, as we see it thrown down to Solo Vayne, it is going to give him enough survivability. Granted, it is already officially down into these next moments here, so he's going to have to look for a different Hydrak for the future.
And I mean, that's the main thing, is that they're going to try and burn that. It's not going to be used aggressively in that sense, especially in laning phase. It's hard to use a Trundle ult aggressively, in my opinion, at least. It's more so going to be, you're holding on to it. Once someone comes in like the Nautilus, I'm going to use that and try and get out of here. Regardless, there are better ultimates to steal. We've mentioned that before, and I think that DMR just has to try and get out of this lane as quickly as possible. Continue clearing that wave, push into the tower, and then look towards the bottom side and steal some of those better ultimates.
No quite chain available. Remember, Flash just seconds away. Might be the end of DMR even still as the Chaos Storm ticks forward there. Big Flash actually into the fight there as now Ryvax does arrive straight onto Solo Vayne and is going to be slowed out and actually eliminated from play. Mask doing a great job to peel here for Solo Vayne main.
And the flash from Ryvax is like 2 seconds away as well. They all burn their flash at the same time. A bot lane,
they don't have their flash this time around. It's a Moonlight Vigil to secure that one for Virix. And you know what? It's big kills across the board for Daemon and a dragon as well.
Daemon are just controlling this early game once again. And we mentioned in draft, St. Thomas, they do have slightly better early games. They've got this Silas who can all in a Victor before you can get those items. You've got this Camille on the top side of the map. You've got the crowd control chain from this Jin Lux. And once again, we just see that Daemon do not care about your expectations of the early game. They will win the early game. And once again, they are showing us exactly what they've done in the last 2 games. It's more so what we need to see in the mid game, because game 1, there was no mid game. STU just fell apart. The wheels fell off the bus. Their internet went out. even they didn't want to finish that game. But game 2, the internet was like, you know what? You're close enough. Let's give you a chance. And we saw them get back into the driver's seat after a while. So that's going to be determined in the next 5-6 minutes what sort of STU we are going to see, if we are going to see the game 1 version or the game 2 version. For STU's sake, you hope it's the game 2 version, but Daemen wouldn't mind getting another win like they did in game 1.
Yeah, Daemen. Technically, our David, as we described at the very beginning of this cast. So taking down the giant that is Goliath would always be something nice, especially as early as what is week 2 here in the ECC low regular season. Something I do want to bring up is the fact that, though, when we talk about what led to kind of St. Thomas's return of a victory in game 2, because remember, they had just as bad as an early game in game 2, was the fact that you had champs like the Victor in the hands of DMR, like the Trinamir who could apply oppression. This time around, it's switched up, just like the collapse of this play, completely switching against what is St. Thomas. A double kill found here for solo Daemen, even in the face of the opposing hijacked Chaos Storm.
And it's just so much damage coming through from the side of Daemen, once again able to find multiple members in that mid lane. And we talked about this. They're always able to find multiple people coming into these fights. And unfortunately, DMR is just not having a fun time on this Silas. It's a lot harder to play safe when you're playing a melee champion into a ranged champion like the Victor. Granted, you get the flash out, but that's about it.
Mask here is spotted by that ward. Idle and Skuldust are going to pull back appropriately. I think if they're smart, which we've seen them learn this mistake many times over here across these 3 games, they will not be taking the bait there. TP, by the way, is going to be putting solo Daemen back into the mid here to continue to match DMR. So remember, that will no longer be in play here for the next few minutes.
Not going to be as much of a factor, but you know, always looking to push forward some advantages. And I think we've got to start to look towards Dolphin on this top side of the map because, you know, this CS lead, it's been rather stagnant at about 20-25. But once that Divine Sunderer comes online, you're going to see a lot more damage come out from the Camille. And I think you got to start trying to pull the trigger onto Clorox here, trying to get those kills down because you've got to start to unlock Dolphin if they want to have all this impact around the map.
You know what's really crazy? You know, even if you take a bit of a loss there on something like Clorox, he still has the Realm of Death to constantly work with, right? And that will always be something that leads to a successful team fight for Daemen, you know, whether St. Thomas want it or not, whether they have a Fed member. In fact, the more Fed you are, the more likely you will be punished. For now, though, big trades here in the bot. We see that current call going to put Virex and Mask into a poor place as they aren't able to pick up that tier 1. Remember, though, a flash was blown onto both Idle and Skullduster. Now, as we return towards the mid lane, big knockup from Root there. DMR going to be trapped by the gravity field as the exhaust secures the deal. Root found on Ryvax. It's going to be forcing that flash out as he does get the dash off as well. But still, it is a huge return in the face of the rift that was thrown down there.
Yes, it's once again just Daemen finding advantages with this Nautilus roaming constantly as bot side. Lux is dead.
Lux is dead.
Sag.
Had flash, by the way.
Yes. And
Bit
still
rough there.
died because that's the power of Mr. 200.
That's Aphelios. I'm not even sure if we had Nautilus in play there, but now solo Daemen, this could potentially be the first kill of the game here for St. Thomas, but doesn't quite work. That gravity field so punishing on the assault here. Ryvax is available to shadow this play, but Mask being there is really what stops it in its tracks to begin with. Almost perfect here for Daemen.
Yeah, Daemen are looking pretty much perfect at this point. I mean, the only real tarnish against their record is the fact that mid lane tower starting to take a beating there from the Silas. Granted, there was a Rift Herald thrown down, but other than that, their bot lane has been playing to the win condition. Mid lane has been playing exceptionally well, but you know, DMR still has that macro sense, and I think we have to give credit to Dolphin in that macro sense as well. This Dragon should be going over comfortably to the side of St. Thomas, and the gold lead is not as dire as we've seen in past games, specifically game 1. It's only about a 3,000 gold deficit right now for STU. it's still winnable. I think that's always something you've got to keep in mind with these gold advantages or disadvantage that you have.
Ooh. Skullduster ultimate down there. Idol going to be utilizing that curtain call. Remember, though, Nautilus is tanky. It's the hottest take of the day, I know. Some call me the Michael Schlansky of hot takes. Either way, Yoruichi on his way in here, potentially look for that dredge line, but is slowed by what is the utility there of Idol once again. So nothing to be found.
And I mean, if we are going to be on the topic of Michael Schlansky, there is a little bit of a fire that you've got to put out for the side of STU here. And it's starting to become that bot lane because Aphelios has been able to get free farm for so long. Looking at the CS advantage once again up to about 40 CS. Can I do math properly? I don't know. I think someone with a JD would definitely do better math than I would in this situation. But once again, that gold lead is growing in favor of this Aphelios. And if you look towards the top side of the map, you're not really getting as much in return. Even with the CS lead that the Viego has, the Trundle's still ahead in terms of gold. And Mordekaiser's sticking around, keeping their head in the game, despite having a little bit of a CS disadvantage. They're only within about 200 gold.
I mean, I'm never looking at this on the one-on-one for Clorox. Clorox's job is to be the ultimate bot. I mean, he is, even if he's not an ultimate bot, he's the ultimate tax. You force something like the Silver Sash to be utilized or bought or picked up here, that 1,300 gold. DMR, though, back into play, forced to utilize the dash as he chains back in there, silenced in a split second. Big flashes, both Chaos Storms are down. No one looks too good. Dolphin is in as the tier 1 drops here. DMR looking fairly low. Mask only a click away as a nice root will prevent Yoruichi from finding return. Big Pillar, Yoruichi flash, depth charge to find both on the double of knockups here. No one goes down. So many windows expended.
So many windows, as you said. Everything was used, and it all ends up being for naught in a sense, because you get that first tower, all of those flashes were burned, and yes, we are making Nautilus puns there. Fortunately, the dive just didn't work out as well as expected, and at the end of the day, STU starting to get into their mid-game groove. They've been down kills for most of the series, and they're perfectly happy here because they are still finding the objectives when they need to. And mid-tier 1 is definitely an avenue to get back into this game, reducing the gap just a little bit.
St. Thomas still holding on for dear life. The problem is this comp for Daemen scales up so impressively. And so this might be a huge mistake to work with as the big group comes down to Yoruichi. This splits the pressure here. Yoruichi going to be forced to utilize that stopwatch as now Mask is going to be the only thing that prevents Yurix from going down. In goes Diomar, but he is blown to bits. Yoruichi will fall, but Clorox with the teleport does find the return onto Skullduster, blowing that barrier. Reminder, Dolphin in the back, stunned out. Solo Daemen with the gravity as we got a double-ended team fight here. Virex unable to be taken out by the Hextech Ultimatum.
Clorox.
Meanwhile, Clorox, he found the 1v1. More like a 1v done as Rivex goes down. Flash forward, Mask in, Skullduster out of here. 4 members out for St. Thomas.
Yeah, they're able to find the crunch when it matters, and at the end of the day, it's tough because you finally get a kill, and it immediately gets taken away by the fact that Clorox takes you down to the death realm. Now this Trundle 6-0-2. Solo Daemen 3-0-3 on this Victor. Aphelios scaling incredibly well as well, and we talked about that comfort mid-game zone. All of a sudden, Daemen are saying, you know what, we're not letting you get comfortable. We're going to keep bringing you these fights. We're going to keep looking for these aggressive plays, and it's more so just about if and when STU are going to be able to take that step and try and find their next aggressive play.
Diomar here. Whew. In towards this blue side jungle, just clearing out, pressuring, getting a bit of that scuttle presence here to try to even what is all the advantage found here from Daemen College at this given point. We've got 20 seconds till Baron. Granted, I don't think that's going to be much of a topic for either of these teams with the Ocean Drake spawning here in the next few moments. And already, Daemen are in such a good source of play. Just a moment ago, the vision was completely in favor of St. Thomas in this region, and very quickly, Daemen come through, clear appropriately, and now we'll take this with no heartbeat skipped.
They're going to take their second dragon, going to be able to find another objective for themselves, and they got the bot lane tower as well, so they're finally on the board in terms of those structures as well. But, you know, this is the point in the game where structures start to fall a little bit quicker. You're going to see towers traded for towers. That mid lane tower, I don't think it's going to see anywhere north of 21 minutes at this point. Now Clorox, with a kill under their belt, they have the plated steel caps, they have that Rift Maker, they can definitely stand up and potentially even take down the likes of this Camille right now, because Dolphin, once again, hasn't really been able to find those aggressive plays in lane that we were talking about. So that sort of leaves them into the one situation that we have left, we talked about in draft. It's going to have to be the team fighting Camille, but we haven't really seen any solid team fights come through for St. Thomas yet. So the jury's still out. We might just see a no Camille, a no answer Camille. It just ends up being null, and you get a 0 on the question. You fail the course, and you got to go next year.
Damn. Bit of a shame there, but
Yeah.
you know what? There's always a reapplication process. St. Thomas here, though. Big problem I saw with that last play, especially with the dragon being taken so aggressively, with them having that knowledge on their belt. You saw a big rotation by Ryvax, Diomar, Dolphin up there. They all try to make their way towards top, and they dwaddled, right? And they really weren't looking for much of anything. As a result, Daemen just kind of picked up that entire trade for complete free, and could they have looked for something onto Clorox? Personally, I don't think so. So I understand why they rotated back there. But even still, just no momentum, no movement, no trade of vision, nothing. Doesn't look good in the face of a team trying to fight their way back in. Speaking of fighting their way back into this one, Diomar has no chance there. Mask Yoruichi, way too tanky. This time around, that Nautilus does not explode like in Game 2 here to our mid laner.
And the main thing is, Diomar did use the Subjugate second, just used it way too late. You know, we saw that health bar at about 200 health there for like a second and a half, and I was like, does he have a chance? Is he going to survive? But unfortunately, Trundle being 7-0-2, sort of just slaps his stat stick at you at that point. His big old club bonks you over the head and says, hey, go away, and gets a kill.
Still, it is just the one-off here. No one has really made any efforts to go for direct grouping with Daemon. Even then, they are still pocketing an absurd amount of gold, and with that, you find carries like the Victor, like the Aphelios, just growing and becoming that much more dangerous, which is a problem that St. Thomas might never really have the opportunity to fix, given that they just don't scale to that degree here. So even though it is a bit of a slow pacing of a game, this might change that. Big teleport from behind. Solo Daemen is potentially caught out. Chaos Storm down, pinched here. Gravity Field can't stop the Hextech ultimatum. And Dolphin, finally, a huge return here for St. Thomas University.
They're finally able to get something to their credit. And I think that is a massive boost to their confidence in a way, because, you know, when you're sitting at 13-1, you're like, man, this feels like crap. But, you know, you get a kill now on the Camille, a very important member who's going to be sitting in the side lane. You're very likely going to be able to clean up this bot lane tower. And all of a sudden, STU aren't feeling as bad about their game state as they were 2 minutes ago. You know, you're going to get this structure. You're going to most likely get that top lane tower.
Very nice.
Now you're getting some more gold back into your main carries. And yes, there's a 0-5 Silas, but he's sitting on 2 items at this point. This Camille going to be able to finish up her second item shortly here. The Sterak's Gauge comes through, so there is definitely a fighting chance if the fights go the right way, and if you're taking out Mask from the get-go. It's just you still got to worry about the likes of the Aphelios pressing R and saying, haha, I have more years of gameplay design experience than you do.
You know, and to the credit here of St. Thomas University, now this is a little bit of a dig at Daemon, but it is something that should be brought up. Technically, that last fight we saw was one of the first major team fights of this series, past, 10, 15 minutes. Everything else has been a single off, one-sided pick, like moments like this, where you've got someone way out of position, and then they are deleted here. Yoruichi on the other side, able to slow this one down. The depth charge to give Solo Daemen the time to continue to play. He is rooted as the exhaust finally is going to be pushed out with his second member arriving. Still, the heals are enough. A return with the depth charge of his own. The Chaos Storm down now. Bit of a reset into the gravity field, and Solo Daemen just obliterates the last remainder of his health here. It's a big pickup onto Diomar. in the face of this late game. And now Dolphin might just be next here. A big subjugate thrown straight out as Dolphin will burn there. Clorox might not even be necessary, as though the hook shot still finds our Camille over the wall.
Yeah, Camille's so slippery, but you can see how much damage this Trundle does. Mask took almost no damage from that entire exchange. I think the most damage they took was from the Deadly Flourish on the way out, but you can just see how scary this Trundle is. It's going to put them on Ocean Soul point. Gotta hold it there, you know. The Luxalt could have stolen it, but now Skull Duster might be in trouble.
I was gonna say, went in for the Luxalt. Oh, the pillar not in the best of positions. Clorox, though, from behind might be able. Can't quite get her with the claw. And while the bind does miss there, she's still taking a half out. Dolphin back in. Big root there onto Yoruichi. Hextech ultimatum used as the curtain call will find it. Clorox is within the death run, taking this one toe-to-toe here as now Mask is out. Clorox back into the fray here of all four members will be obliterated. Pool St. Thomas. This is the best fight for them yet.
Yeah, they're finally able to find the fight that matters for them. Viego picking up 2 kills there. You know, you're able to finally get a kill onto Idol as well as Skull Duster, and it's a great turnaround for them. They're able to pick up their bearings. They're able to pick up that gold lead, and we talked about how they're in their comfort zone in the mid game. They're only down about 800 gold. A little while ago, it was 3,000, 4,000, and we were starting to get worried. But once again, Dolphin and DMR still scaling up. And despite the pretty big difference in gold in the mid lane here, it's starting to get canceled out by that Camille just a little bit. And even that Viego starting to make up for some lost ground.
Whew. Potentially some burst, some play to delete the carries here on the Daemen College roster. When we talk about Solo Vayne, man, Varix, Mask, any of them, it still is a huge uphill battle, even though the gold has been at such a balance for so long. The next major contestant, 3 minutes away, you've still got that Ocean Soul beginning in play. The big thing I don't want to see St. Thomas, they've shown time and time again, especially in this game, they go for those one-offs. They make a mistake. They're a little too far forward, and then suddenly you don't have priority anymore when it's a 4v5. So they got to be careful. Mask within it. Yoruichi from behind could be huge here, but gives it up a little bit too early.
It's just a little bit too early to say because,
Dolphin
never mind.
Hextech ultimatum, teleport. It'll be far too late. Solo Vayne main down. Clorox is in. Death Realm for Diomar here. He does not have the Hextech ultimatum, as now the rest of Daemon arrive there. There is no hope for our chained prisoner. He'll be taken back here.
Unfortunately, he's going to be thrown back in the cage. He's going to be forced to wear the mask there.
Oh,
whether he
no!
likes it or not, because of a DC Mask just whacking him down there with the big old stick. But Skull Duster is actually able to survive that despite a very scary pillar. And no, ends up being a 1-for-1. It's still in STU's wheelhouse. It's always hard to say, but they're like, every time they're down by like 10 kills or something, they're like, perfect. This is right where we want to be. And as you can see, they're still able to find gold somewhere on the map. And I think a big factor of that is despite Mask having 8 kills, look at the farm that Ravax has been able to do.
I know.
Consistently farming through, cycling through those jungles. That's 70 CS up in the jungle. And that's a lot of gold because jungle CS is worth a lot more.
It's true. I will say, when you are pressuring as many lanes as you are with Mask, you definitely miss out on a little bit there. But that's no excuse to the dominance still being found to now, actually for the first time in a long time, put St. Thomas ahead in the gold graph there for even just a moment. So finally, a balance achieved.
Yeah, and all it took is Diomar dying 7 times on Silas, you know, regardless, all jokes aside. It's still been so much attention towards Diomar, and I think that's a big factor of what happens in these collegiate games where you have someone who has a name for themselves, like Diomar, and you say, you know what, let's shut this guy down. You've killed him 7 times, but look at the rest of the map here. Dolphin's been quietly able to pick up a 300 gold bounty for themselves. Look at the gold that's on Ravax, just been slowly but surely farming up as well. And even in the bottom lane, Idol has done a good job of stabilizing after Aphelios got a massive CS lead in the early game. Here comes the fight.
Yoruichi, big route down to start this one. Teleport is available for Solo Daemen, but Yoruichi will still fall. Now a 4v5 straight onto Solo Daemen is going to be the Hextech ultimatum. Even still, he finds his way to the back as Diomar is almost completely destroyed. Clorox now out from the Death Realm, has fronted the majority of this team. Still steps upon to Dolphin as the flash comes through from Mass. Dolphin burning, a hook shot to slow for just a moment. Even then, the Camille will find safety to still take us to a 2-for-2, a 3-on-3, but a Dragon, a soul secured for Daemen College.
Yeah, and Daemen are going to be so happy with that at the end of the day, despite all of the efforts from St. Thomas. They got a 2-for-2. They went even in the fight, but unfortunately the health bar is just a little bit too low. And if you look at the members that they were able to get kills on, it's onto DMR and onto Ravax. You take away the smite, you take away that sort of X factor. You know, on the flip side, it's Solo Daemen going down. Pretty big target, but it's also the Nautilus, Yoruichi. That's fine if you're losing your support and you go 2-for-2 there. So now you've got to fight against an Ocean Soul. Ocean Soul's still probably one of the strongest souls that you can get. You're able to get all this healing. Any sort of poke, you can shrug it off. And if you look at the enemy team there, they've got half all in with this Camille, this Viego, this Silas, but the rest of it is poke. Idle and Lux, they're looking for this sort of poke out and then pull the trigger style. And unfortunately, that doesn't work anymore. You've just got to all in almost every single time. And despite the gold being still in SDU's favor, that soul is worth a lot more than what the stats can show.
Yeah. So now, my apologies, a major source of health sustain keeps them even harder ahead when we talk about, you know, just unable to kill them here. Still, St. Thomas, we saw them. They have a lot of single pick potential, whether between Ravax, Diomar, or Dolphin. Individually, it's the problem when you get the full 5-man and really don't have a response here. Ooh, Daemen, this is risky. Starting up that Baron. They already know they're in play. They're on vision. Still, they are split massively there. 2 members are on the bot side. Diomar will be able to present some pressure onto Varix.
Watch
as
the
he is going to come in. A good pillar will prevent his engages now. Ooh, they don't want to step away from it. They've already put so much work in, but remember, Ravax is already available. He's finally come up from the bot lane as that's going to be the depth charge steal there. Hijack available now as, wow, Solo Daemen is doing a great job just keeping them away, playing footsie there. As, okay, it's a vision clear. For a second I thought he started, but no, it's just a vision clear.
It's a game of inches still, despite the Ocean Soul, despite all of that. Of note, Verx is now full health despite being taken down to about 400 HP.
Jeez!
Thank you, Ocean Soul. But you know, they're still not confident enough to pull the trigger on this Baron, and that decision making can end up costing them in the long run because realistically, that Baron should have been theirs. They had the smite, they had the healing from Ocean Soul, they had the damage to potentially take the fight afterwards. But now you get into these 1v1s where
it's Diomar versus Solo Daemen. He's got a bit of healing, but the damage presented from Solo Daemen makes Diomar look like a pipsqueak in comparison. Now, 1 member down, no TP on Dolphin. You are confirmed that this fight will be, in fact, a 3v4, or if teleport comes through, a 3v5. We're looking for the St. Thomas steal here.
watch the poke from the Lux. Never mind.
Solo. He's on the backside. That's a big root found here to prevent any further damage. Yoruichi taking a majority of the play. A big...
There's TP.
There's that TP in here. It does finally come up from Dolphin. Still, it is going to be Daemen's Baron, but it will be at the cost of Yoruichi. That's going to be the Hextech ultimate onto Varix. He can't quite kite it, and he will fall as well. Finally, Clorox is in play. Taking that fight directly against Dolphin. He does not have the hook shot to escape as he walks back. It's going to be right into the pillar here. I think everyone has made their way out for St. Thomas, and it still is a 3-man Baron pickup for Daemen.
And it's still so close in terms of the gold. That Baron play got them nothing, realistically, apart from getting, of course, the Baron. in terms of advantages, because you look at the bottom side of the map, Diomar now pushing like a madman on this bottom side of the map. You get the kill onto Dolphin, but they still pick up 2 on the back end of that, and that kill ends up being a little bit more worth it because it's a shutdown onto the Aphelios. You're still going to have Baron on some key members though. Clorox having it, gonna be a menace in the side lane. You've got to send someone to keep an eye on this. Mordekaiser, you've got it on the Trundle, you've got it on the Victor. Those are going to be effectively your 3 lane assignments now. You've got to just start to open up the map, look for this 1-3-1 push, and get some structures down, because with Elder spawning in 80 seconds, that can flip the game on its head, and that can give STU all of the damage they need to break through this Ocean Soul.
Woo! Got a game on our hands, boys. Now, Soul up in just a minute. They might not be able to make any hefty pushes with the Baron buff, but it's enough to keep the waves in such a good presence, especially with Clorox still splitting the bot side there. Mask is rooted out. They will go for the full engage. Curtain call down. He is healing so much, but it will be your Uchi in response. Solo Daemen is pressured from behind on Dolphin as he's trying to kite this out. Meanwhile, Mask picks up one for himself onto Viax. Now Dolphin over the wall, still rooted, as it allows for the chase to continue from Solo Daemen. Clorox into this one. Double flash found from Skull and Idle as they run under their tier 2 here. Remember though, that's still a double Baron in play with the waves a-crashing.
I think a bigger factor is that neither of these junglers are going to be alive for exactly when this Elder Dragon spawns. But look at the health bars. This Ocean Soul does so much. This Soul is disgusting. Skullduster cannot base right now. They use that ultimate,
they have
200
to.
health. They have to base. They have to try and do something. But then it's a 3v2 with the Elder Dragon. Who's going to come in first? This is really the fight that decides everything here. Whether the side of STU can find the steal, or if Daemen are going to find this Elder.
It's too late!
It's too late.
It doesn't matter. They don't have a chance to walk in. That is a huge Elder, and it's on all 5 members here of the Daemen College squad. Any major fight is more than sure, more than over here for St. Thomas University as they continue to walk forward. The Baron buff finally just running out. No wave in play, but all the kill pressure in the world here.
All the kill pressure. You can just poke them out, slowly burn them down. And what are they supposed to do against the Ocean Soul? Once again, this Soul is so massive for the side of Daemen.
No inhib turret now. Constant poke. Flash forward from Yoruichi. It's going to be a double knock-up straight onto the bot lane members. Idle is ticking. Woo! Will he burn below the meter? Not quite, but still, in the pressure of all that, it is an inhib turret. Diomar's on the side lane trying to get the waves under control to give something back for St. Thomas, some time here, but it's still a huge loss.
Man, this game is... It still feels so close. It is only 2,000 gold separating these two teams. The Elder Dragon grants them an inhibitor in the mid lane, but you have to find more with that, I feel. I feel like you've got to start pushing your advantages because the tier 2s on both of those side lanes are still up for St. Thomas. But as we get closer to this...
Ravax, sorry.
Yeah. As we get closer to this 40-minute mark here, death timers are going to start to get pretty ridiculous. And it starts to become a time where it doesn't matter if you've got soul or if you've got more kills or if you've got more gold. Whoever kills more people, if you can get a 4-for-1, 5-for-1, either way, you can win the game off of that. You can just bum rush down a lane and find yourself any and all the towers that you need. But who will find that fight? And that's the real question, because this Elder Dragon, it got them an inhibitor. That's it. They haven't done anything with it since.
I think they're going for the safest plays possible here. Obviously, I'm always going to be on the opposite end. I want to see the risk, the biscuit, right, come into play here. And you know what? I can understand them pulling back, managing what is these side waves and trying to keep some level of control into their hands. They want to go for the full clear and make sure that it is a completely dominant win for themselves, especially with 50 seconds being on the board for Baron and that being more than enough to force some pushes out here. And that's why you see them, of course, on the full clear. Now, Skullduster, finally a pillar that won't allow for escape here. The third one being the charm. 4v5, wave of pushing in the top side towards your tier 2. It could be a Baron, it could be the fight.
this could just be the game at this point because they
Oh,
found Daemen.
Diomar. Straight into Zonia's there. Gravity field down. It's going to be finding his way back onto Solveig, but he uses his own Zonia's. And now Virex stepping up from the bot to find 2 with his damage. Solveig flashing forward, looking for Idol. He's doing literally nothing to him. Idol, only one left alive here as the waves continue to collapse. He's just going to have to walk his way back to Fountain. It's a Daemen College victory here.
Against what seemed to be all odds from our predictions, seeming like a surefire thing after game 1, to us really starting to doubt them in game 2. They're able to pull out the game 3 victory, and Daemen College put STU in their place.
Woo!
They say, DMR be damned, we will still take you down.
Daemen College pulling out the rug here from St. Thomas University. We had a lot coming into this one regarding some expected opinions. We talked about that David v. Goliath. Well, I'll tell you what, we all know how that story ends, and it doesn't look good in the favor of Goliath here. Daemen Esports, a huge victory on their back.
And if you look at the CLOL seedings here, the Wildcats here from Daemen College, they are the last seed. They are the bottom seed in their group, and they are taking down STU here, who were the 4th seed. So it's a pretty big upset when you think of things in context. Of course, granted, internet issues in game 1 minus your star mid laner in DMR game 1 gives STU, maybe an excuse for that game 1, but you had game 2,
2 and 3.
get your momentum back. You had game 3 firing on all cylinders, and unfortunately, DMR just got punished time and time again. 0-10 on the Silas. It's so difficult to win the game when you die that much. It's basic math at that point. If you are not on the map, you are not helping your team. You are not a number. And unfortunately, it seemed as if Daemen were able to take their early game advantage and push it to the end.
Fantastic play found here from Daemen College. I know for a fact, though, that we still have more surprises in store here. We're going to be going towards a short break, and when we come back here fairly quickly, we'll be having an interview with one of our lovely winners. Stick around. Switch to the Infernum at any given point. Even still, Dredgeline back on to Rivax. And remember, he doesn't have a flash, and this will secure that first blood into the hands of Mask here for Daemen.
And a little bit of an interesting sequence of events there because Verx moves forward so aggressively looking for the play.
Huge stun, walks right back into the gravity field. What? Daemen scales up so impressively. And so this might be a huge mistake to work with as the big group comes down to Yoruichi. This splits the pressure here. Yoruichi will be forced to utilize that stopwatch. Now Mask is going to be the only thing that prevents Yoruichi from going down. In goes Diomar, but he is blown to bits. Yoruichi will fall, but Clorox with the teleport does find the return onto Skullduster, blowing that barrier. Reminder, Dolph in the back, stunned out. Solveig with the gravity as we got a double-ended team fight here. Virex unable to be taken out by the Hextech ultimatum. Meanwhile, Clorox, he found the 1v1, more like a 1v done as Rivex goes down. Flash forward, Mask in, Skullduster, and behind might be able, can't quite get her with the claw, and while the bind does miss there, she's still taking a half health. Dolphin back in, big root there onto Yoruichi. Hextech ultimatum used as the curtain call will find it. Clorox is within the Deltron, taking this one toe-to-toe here as now Mask is out. Clorox back into the fray here of all 4 members will be obliterated.
After Aphelios got a massive CS lead in the early game fight.
Yoruichi, big root down to start this one. Teleport is available for Solveig, but Yoruichi will still fall. Now a 4v5 straight onto Solveig is going to be the Hextech ultimatum. Even still, he finds way to the back as Diomar is almost completely destroyed. Clorox now out from the death realm, has fronted the majority of this team. Still steps upon the Dolphin as the flash comes through from Mask. Dolphin burning, a hook shot to slope for just a moment. Even then,
There's
big.
TP.
There's that TP in here. It does finally come up from Dolphin. Still, it is going to be Daemen's Baron, but it will be at the cost of Ryuichi. That's going to be the Hextech Ultimatum onto Virax. He can't quite kite it, and he will fall as well. Finally, Clorox is in play. Taking that fight directly against Dolphin. He does not have the hook shot to escape as he walks back. It's going to be right into the... Especially with Clorox still splitting the bot side there. Mask is rooted out. They will go for the full engage. Curtain call down. He is healing so much, but it will be your Uchi in response. Solo Daemen is pressured from behind on Dolphin as he's trying to kite this out. Meanwhile, Mask picks up one for himself onto Viax. Now Dolphin over the wall, still rooted as it allows for the chase to continue from Solo Vayne main. Clorox into this one. Double flash the fight.
This could just be the game at this point because they
Oh,
found
Diomar straight into Zonia's there. Gravity field down. It's going to be finding his way back onto Solveig, but he uses his own Zonia's, and now Virax stepping up from the bot to find two with his damage. Solveig flashing forward, looking for Idol. He's doing Daemen College victory here.
against what seemed to be all odds from our predictions, seeming like a surefire thing after game one. It was really starting to doubt them in game two. They're able to pull out the game three victory, and Daemen College put SPU in their place. They say,
How to switch to the Infernum at any given point. Even still, Dredgeline back onto Ryvax. And remember, he doesn't have a flash, and this will secure that first blood in the hands of Mask here for Daemen.
and a little bit of an interesting sequence of events there because Verx moves forward so aggressively, looking for the play.
Huge stun, walks right back into the gravity field. What? For Daemen scales up so impressively. And so this might be a huge mistake to work with as the big group comes down to Yoruichi. This splits the pressure here, Yoruichi, and be forced to utilize that stopwatch. As now Mask is going to be the only thing that prevents Yurix from going down. In goes Diomar, but he is blown to bits. Yoruichi will fall, but Clorox with the teleport does find the return onto Skullduster, blowing that barrier. Reminder, Dolphin the back, stunned out. Solo Daemen with the gravity as we got a double-ended team fight here. Virax unable to be taken out by the Hextech Ultimatum. Meanwhile, Clorox, he found the 1v1, more like a 1v done as Ryvex goes down. Flash forward, Mask in, Skullduster and behind might be able, can't quite get her with the claw. And while the bind does miss there, she's still taking a half health. Dolphin back in, big root there onto Yoruichi. Hextech Ultimatum used as the curtain call will find it. Clorox is within the Deltron, taking this one toe-to-toe here as now Mask is out. Clorox back into the fray here of all four members will be obliterated.
After Aphelios got a massive CS lead in the early game of the fight.
Yoruichi, big root down to start this one. Teleport is available for Solo Vayne, but Yoruichi will still fall. Now a 4v5 straight onto Solo Vayne is going to be the Hextech Ultimatum. Even still, he finds his way to the back as Diomar is almost completely destroyed. Clorox now out from the Death Realm, has fronted the majority of this team, still steps upon the Dolphin as the flash comes through from Mask. Dolphin burning, a hook shot to slow for just a moment. Even then,
There's
big...
TP.
There's that TP in here. It does finally come up from Dolphin. Still, it is going to be Daemen's Baron, but it will be at the cost of Ryuichi. That's going to be the Hextech Ultimatum onto Virax. He can't quite kite it, and he will fall as well. Finally, Clorox is in play. Taking that fight directly against Dolphin. He does not have the hook shot to escape as he walks back. It's going to be right into the... Especially with Clorox still splitting the bot side there. Mask is rooted out. They will go for the full engage. Curtain call down. He is healing so much, but it will be your Uchi in response. Solo Daemen is pressured from behind on Dolphin as he's trying to kite this out. Meanwhile, Mask picks up one for himself onto Viax. Now Dolphin over the wall, still rooted as it allows for the chase to continue from Solo Vayne main. Clorox into this one. Double flash the fight.
This could just be the game at this point because they
Oh,
found
Diomar. Straight into Zonia's there. Gravity field down. It's going to be finding his way back onto Solveig, but he uses his own Zonia's. And now Virax stepping up from the bot to find two with his damage. Solveig flashing forward, looking for Idol. He's doing Daemen College victory here.
against what seemed to be all odds from our predictions, seeming like a surefire thing after game one. It was really starting to doubt them in game two. They were able to pull out the game three victory, and Daemen College put STU in their place. They say,
To switch to the Infernum at any given point. Even still, Dredgeline back on to revive Ryvax. And remember, he doesn't have a flash, and this will secure that first blood in the hands of Mask here for Daemen.
and a little bit of an interesting sequence of events there because Verx moves forward so aggressively looking for the play.
Huge stun, walks right back into the gravity field. For Daemen scales up so impressively. And so this might be a huge mistake to work with as the big group comes down to Yoruichi. This splits the pressure here. Yoruichi going to be forced to utilize that stopwatch as now Mask is going to be the only thing that prevents Yurix from going down. In goes Diomar, but he is blown to bits. Yoruichi will fall, but Clorox with the teleport does find the return onto Skullduster, blowing that barrier. Reminder, Dolphin in the back, stunned out. Solo Daemen with the gravity as we got a double-ended team fight here. Virax unable to be taken out by the Hextech Ultimatum.
Clorox.
Meanwhile, Clorox, he found the 1v1, more like a 1v done as Ryvex goes down. Flash forward, Mask in, Skullduster from behind might be able, can't quite get her with the claw, and while the bind does miss there, she's still taking a half out. Dolphin back in, big root there onto Yoruichi. Hextech Ultimatum used as the curtain call will find it. Clorox is within the death run, taking this one toe-to-toe here as now Mask is out. Clorox back into the fray here of all four members will be obliterated.
After Aphelios got a massive CS lead in the early game here of the fight.
Yoruichi, big root down to start this one. Teleport is available for Solo Daemen, but Yoruichi will still fall. Now a 4v5 straight onto Solo Daemen is going to be the Hextech Ultimatum. Even still, he finds his way to the back as Diomar is almost completely destroyed. Clorox now out from the Death Realm, has fronted the majority of this team. Still steps upon to Dolphin as the flash comes through from Mask. Dolphin burning, a hook shot to slow for just a moment. Even then,
There's TP.
there's that TP in here. It does finally come up from Dolphin. Still, it is going to be Daemen's Baron, but it will be at the cost of Yoruichi. That's going to be the Hextech Ultimatum onto Virax. He can't quite kite it, and he will fall as well. Finally, Clorox is in play. Taking that fight directly against Dolphin. He does not have the hook shot to escape as he walks back. It's going to be right into the... Especially with Clorox still splitting the bot side there. Mask is rooted out. They will go for the full engage. Curtain call down. He is healing so much, but it will be Yoruichi in response. Solo Daemen is pressured from behind on Dolphin as he's trying to kite this out. Meanwhile, Mask picks up one for himself onto Viax. Now Dolphin over the wall, still rooted as it allows for the chase to continue from Solo Daemen. Clorox into this one. Double flash the fight.
This could just be the game at this point because they found that.
Diomar straight into Zonia's there. Gravity field down. It's going to be finding his way back onto Solo Daemen, but he uses his own Zonia's, and now Virax stepping up from the bot to find two with his damage. Solo Daemen flashing forward, looking for Idol. He's doing Daemen College victory here.
Against what seemed to be all odds from our predictions, seeming like a sure.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, Tour Esports U. We've got a special guest joining us here. It's Mask from our winning team, Daemen College. Mask, I want to be the first to congratulate you on a fantastic victory here against St. Thomas University.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It was definitely a fun series for sure.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, it looked like one. Start this one off. You guys, as my friend Rare Adam had pointed out to me, we're sitting in last place coming into this one. And there's some big names on St. Thomas University, Diomar, Dolphin, to name some of the least here. Could you give us an impression, even prior to when this best of three began, where the mental was at for Daemen, how you might have been approaching this matchup?
Yeah, so we're an underdog team, of course. Like, obviously, everyone's rank is higher than ours in the division. So coming into it prior this week and last week, we did a lot of research on our opponents, and we did a lot of scrimming into our comps that we were going to play. We had a few pocket picks, like the Morgana Jungle. Unfortunately, we didn't win game two, but, you know, better things have happened. Um,
Yeah.
other than that, only just basic scrimming.
Mm.
We come into into the game with just underdog mentality, like I said.
Okay, well, it worked.
Yeah, I think it worked like a charm. I guess my question to follow up is, you know, for your team specifically when you're facing down these, these scary threats, like you have that underdog mentality. Do you feel any pressure? You're like, oh, I'm laning against the challenger mid laner. This guy has played in like the highest amateur leagues, or is it just, I'm facing a Victor or I'm facing a Silas? Like, talk me through some of the comms that go through in your game, I guess.
So yeah, obviously, like we have one or two people always calling the shots in our game, so it's usually like not a really cluttered comms when we do communicate.
Mhm.
As for like higher level opponents, we usually just turn the nameplates off and play as a, we were just normally going to play. Like I've seen DMR play in amateur scenes, so I kind of know how he plays. I'm going to be a little cocky there. I know how to
Mm,
punish him.
I
But
got it.
yeah, of course, we're going to throw a little bit out there. We're coming off a good win, so it's good adrenaline.
Hey, you know what? You throw a little bit of the placebo into the mix, and it does wonders for the mental here. I gotta ask, you guys come off a tough game two, to say the least. It has a great start, but things kind of fall awry, especially with the dominance being that side lane Tryndamere, as well as the pressure from the scaling Victor. Going in to game three, did you guys come up with a more direct game plan, especially to match some of the pressure you were seeing out of the second one there?
So yeah, I mean that showed a lot in our bands. We weren't expecting the Tryndamere pick. Like I said, we did a lot of research into these teams because that's how we can get our upper hand, right? Is by doing our scouting
Right.
and doing our research. We did not expect the Tryndamere at all, so that was a really kind of insane pick that he pulled out. As
Worked well.
for game, it did work really well. As in like game three, we just ban it, and like we knew that he played Silas, but playing Tryndamere, playing these or not Tryndamere, Trundle, like these kinds of champions, we know that we can punish these laners. So that's why we think Silas is a better matchup. We think Camille's a better matchup. We're just going to
Mhm.
play into that instead. Was something that we've scrimmed before in the past, where we rarely scrim against Tryndameres.
For sure. And I guess final question here for you, Mask. Coming off a big win, how'd you get here? Give your shout out to those that made your journey worth it, I guess, if you want to put it that way.
All right, so shout out to my teammates. I love all of them. They're really great. Great team mentality here. It's how we pulled off this win is just by our chemistry. Shout out to my friends and family watching at home. Shout out to my coach, P. Healy. That's about it.
Well, it was a pleasure having you here. Hopefully, we get to watch and see the journey of Daemen continue to grow as you guys make your way from underdogs up to superstars.
Thank you.
Well, Rare Adam, with all of that being said, it was a tough night to start out with, but we made it work, and the teams themselves, they brought us the matches to boot.
Yeah, for sure. I think that, only needed what? You disconnecting twice, Daemon disconnecting, STU
Once,
disconnecting,
connecting.
just everything happening. But at the end of the day, it's the journey that is the fun part, as we were saying. And, we got to see a really fun series come out from these two teams. And at the end of the day, David wins, just like how the story goes. David takes down the giant, and Daemon
Ooh.
definitely showed us that they are not just they do not want to be defined by their ranks. They want to be defined by this victory, and hopefully we see a lot more of them in the future.
Absolutely. I want to give one final shout out here towards our production behind the scenes. Kyler Colton here, as well as Gunn, one of the observers that we worked with here tonight, did a fantastic job to bring y'all all of the Rift action in our series tonight. Other than that, I also want to give a happy shout out to you guys at home, sticking around and watching what we bring here every week at Esports U. As for us behind the desk, I have been Zephyr. This has been Rare Adam, and we bid you one last farewell.